What's up, Travis? How you doing, man?
End of the week, almost. Majority of my work done.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, I don't know. This whole Devontae Adams thing, there's just no way
No.
that
There
Dallas
was
can
there
get
was
Adams.
never a way. I don't the
Yeah.
any kind of trade like that's just. I wish I wish I could send out a massive just PSA to Cowboys. Just I'm not trying to. I guess I'm not trying to do the Nick thing, but I guess I kind of am by saying like just stop with the let's trade for this guy. Let's trade. It's not gonna happen. Like if they didn't do it last year, they damn sure aren't doing it this year. Like it's a, and even if they did do it, I have bad news because I was thinking about this the other day, thinking about this chat, Michael. The only way they would do it, the last time they actually made a trade of any kind of consequence is the guy that everyone's talking about. They want to bring him back, but that was only because they actually had to make that because it was a trade out of desperation. Name the last time they've ever
Yeah.
made like a surplus trade where it was like, yeah, we're pretty good at the position. Man, they just went crazy and just strengthened it. It doesn't happen. We like our guys.
Well, they couldn't afford. I mean, if they couldn't afford Derrick Henry, which would have been a really good thing, then they can't afford him.
Yeah, Stephen Jones already said it. I'm
My whole
telling
thing
you,
is just if
the
is the
$100 million that they have next year. We already know how that's going to go. They're supposed to have 100.6 million in cap, and I already can hear Stephen Jones typing his response right now. Well, we just paid Tyler Smith and we just paid Micah Parsons, and all that money's already spent. So we're not going to be big players in free agency next year, or the year after, or the year after. We're just not.
Do you think Parsons? I mean, it seems like they don't. Other teams don't have a big problem eliminating Parsons. It's like, okay, we're gonna run at him, and then you watch the game, and it's like, where's Parsons? Oh, he's there, but
I do think it's an issue. I know Dylan, and this is one of those hot button issues that Dylan and I disagree with. I still don't think, and maybe we're going to see it. Well, actually, we're not going to see it because he's not going to play. But I still think T.J. Watt is another level above. Now he didn't have as good of a week this last week, but early in the year where he had like three sack fumbles removed from the games because of penalties, that dude like regardless, just finds ways to impact games where I don't quite think. And again, maybe that's the 3-4 scheme, to be fair. So that's why I wonder if this all goes. I know you're against me on this, Michael, about this going off the rails, and Dylan's mentioned that before, but if it does, I think the 3-4 scheme might be the trick to maybe unlocking Mike even more like this next year.
haha, I got my live set up for YouTube. All right, it's working. Um Sweet, dude. How do I get the ding dang chat set up? All right, I gotta work on that. I think that you're right. I think 3-4 for Micah would be better. I just don't think that's something they're gonna do anytime soon. Going back to
no.
Devonte Adams too. My whole thing with trading picks for players is you've got to have a long term plan. I think Nick said that today. You got to have a long term plan in place or in mind for that player. Like Amari was young. There was a long term plan there, and then because of stupid reasons, he got traded away. But the other thing is that player like is he gonna put you over the top? I feel like this team has like so many holes right now that trading for a receiver that's gonna cost a bunch of money, cost you a high draft pick when you're kind of in a rebuild right now, a soft rebuild. I think like I'll keep the draft capital and I'll work on my team, through the draft and free agency if they want to participate in free agency. But I wouldn't trade for Devon. The only position I'd consider trading for is probably on the D line.
And tell me you're confident. Tell me you're 100% confident that even if they did trade for him in a weird side, weird world, that they would actually use him effectively.
Yeah, I mean you're right.
I think it would just cause more problems where Mike would rather be like, well, now I got to try and feed. We would be complaining more about Turpin's not getting and Turpin's getting zero reps as it is, and if they had to force feed, we got to force feed Devontae and we got to force feed CD. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see it regardless. But you don't think you don't think they would move to a 3-4 next year?
No, I
No?
don't think Zimmer coached a 3-4 before.
Well,
Maybe he
I'm
has.
assuming he's not here. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I don't know.
I guess with the theory of like if it doesn't go the way we think it's supposed to go for the Joneses, like if it's a new coach, I think anybody that comes in here, I think you'd have to look at it and say the best thing for him would be a 3-4
Well, you
because
got it.
then I
Yeah,
think he can use his you know how we're talking about him getting like Michael was just saying about getting run down because people run at him. When a 3-4 when he's in a stand up, it's almost like, you're in a more alert position where he can use his quickness and get around
well, think
tackles
about the
easier.
construction of the defense too. So your best player is obviously Micah. So what do you want to do to maximize his effectiveness? 3-4, I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
D-Law is probably gone, whether he retires or leaves elsewhere. He's not going to be back, I'm sure. So he's
Yep.
more of a 4-3 end. So don't got to worry about him not fitting in the scheme. Their D tackles don't matter because none of them are really any good. So you can kind of start building there through free agency and draft. Their linebackers, they could play either 4-3 or 3-4. I mean, Overshone's a freak.
Right.
He could play either system. I think Marist probably would be better in a 3-4, actually, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't hate
That's what
that
I'm
idea,
saying.
man.
I don't think the transition to 3-4, like in a draft year, in other years where we had a lot of personnel, I think this actually might set up to where it would not be that hard of a transition to a 3-4. Like you'd still have Mazi, but you could still bring in a big boy like that dude from Kentucky or something. But I don't, and then you're drafting 5 technique defensive ends, which you can find later in the draft anyways. I think it makes too much sense. And you just put Overshone. I think I'd put Overshone opposite him.
Yeah.
Personally.
Hey, you think Mazi is going to build on what he had last week?
I hope so.
Because, I mean, he did.
Hey, I wasn't even going to bring it up in my call, and I know I've driven it home enough now that Nick was like, "I know what you're going to say. Come on." And I was like, I was trying to play humble and just like let him play, and hopefully he does improve. But I do feel like you never know. To me, you never know like when that moment we've talked about before, when that confidence moment is going to happen, right? And I do feel like people were trying to downplay, like, well, it's the Giants' offensive line, but John Michael Schmitz, he's not a slouch of a center. He was a big time center coming out of Minnesota, and he handled him pretty handily, pun intended. And I think if he can, to me, like I told Nick, I would be like, if I can do that to him, why can't I do that to Zach Frazier? Why can't I do that to Tyler Lindenbaum? Why can't I do that to Israel? So to me, I hope he takes that and builds on it. I certainly think he can, but we have to see.
See, I think Dallas doesn't do better than what people are thinking, because I mean they lost to Baltimore, but they came back. But then the very next week or week after, whatever it was, I mean Baltimore beat the mess out of Buffalo, and that was kind of shocking.
Well, that's why I'm like, we're making a lot of declarations, right, about this team early. It's the first quarter of the season. We're just about out of the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have a pretty good idea. Like, this run defense isn't going to be good. Are they going to be as bad as they were the first, week 2 and 3? No, because they're not going to always face opponents to that level. Like you saw against the Giants. The run defense didn't get better against the Giants. It's just they played a lesser caliber offense that can't run the ball as well as the other teams. It's not gonna benefit you in the long run because it's gonna rear its ugly head in the playoffs if you get there or against these better teams. But like, it's not gonna be this atrocious defense that just doesn't, do anything at all season. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But I don't think this team is a real Super Bowl contender. I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that as well. They're probably fighting for a playoff spot. Once you get in, you never know what's going to happen, but I don't think anybody can say that this is a contender or close to being a contender at this point.
I don't know, because you don't know what that offensive line is going to look like in December. I mean, right now they're not looking that great, but you got 2 rookies. Maybe Steele starts doing better. Maybe come December that offensive line is doing a lot better, and you never know.
Well, that's something I said on, I don't know who I said it to. I think it was on Nick's live space on here. He's another streamer that does stuff on here. But he was talking about it, and I was like, I think we're only going to see this offensive line improve over the years, so we got to be patient with this team. Let it load, right? We're in a buffering mode right now. Let it load. and you're going to see better results down the road. But do we have that much time to wait for the offensive line to get better? I mean, we don't really have a choice. But I think from a pass blocking standpoint, the middle of the line's doing great. Obviously the left tackle and right tackle are struggling. From a run blocking standpoint, where they're all kind of struggling. But there are times too, if you watch the film, there's times where there are holes, and then the running back decides to cut the wrong way or do the wrong thing, and it was all for naught. So it's kind of going both ways in the run game. But again, I think all that's going to improve as the season goes on. It's just to what caliber is that going to improve, and how long is it going to take? So.
Yeah, Cook must not be very good if he can't come off the practice squad with what we got right now.
I don't think he was ever intended to, unless there's an injury.
I think
really,
if he comes he's got to replace Zeke if he's going to come on the team, if he's going to be active, and I don't think they're going to sit Zeke.
I think it would have already happened if that were the case.
I don't think that they have any interest in sitting Zeke, whether it's a personal thing or whatever. I just don't think they have any interest in that, because somebody's got to play special teams, and if you elevate Cook, nope, none of those guys are playing special teams.
Yep, and I think they brought him in because of it's legitimate. Rico has had issues staying healthy, so I don't think he's gonna get the weekly. He's not getting called up. I'm over the Jerry Jones, not this week until you've seen injury, which no one hopes for. I mean, unless someone actually really does hope for one, I don't think he's getting called up.
You know what I would like to see? I was thinking about this today. They tried the speed in the backfield, right, with Turpin and Deuce, and maybe that could be successful if they didn't get behind 1,000 points in the first quarter. Maybe there's something there, but I would like to see some power and some speed. I know a lot of people are out on Deuce, but I am curious to see what a Lipke and Deuce backfield would look like, because you got power and you got speed or quickness. And it's like, okay, so what is the defense going to expect? You could give it to one guy, give it to the other guy. They're totally different types of players. Lipke can obviously lead blocks. I think there's a lot of things that you can do there. And Deuce is the only guy that's going to break any tackles. I mean, you can see the stats per carry. It's not even close, the amount of misses and broken tackles that he has compared to the other guys. They just don't really give him a chance, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I think Lipke and Deuce could be nice.
I think, great. Run some more iPhone, but get him on the edge. But how many times do we got? I mean, we're saying get him on the edge at nauseam at this point. It's just
outside zone instead of inside zone. Just run some off tackle outside zone plays with Lipke lead blocking. Get Guyton out on the move. Right, he's a big, powerful dude.
Maybe Solari's too stubborn. Maybe he's just like, it's going to work eventually.
I mean, but it does work at times, which is frustrating too, because we want to kill Solari and the offensive line, and rightfully so. But there's also times too where they are creating the holes, and the backs just aren't taking those holes. So it kind of goes. It's a whole team effort at this point. So it kind of sucks. I don't know how you improve on that. I think it's just probably. I don't think
it's been diverse. I don't think it's been diverse enough, even going back to last year.
I agree. Well, look how they use Pollard, right? Pollard's succeeding out in Tennessee, to an extent. He's not an all-pro, but he's playing well, better than he played here, it seems like. And it's a different scheme.
I want running game Moses back.
Yeah. Yep.
Bill Callahan.
I agree. But who was the when Murray set the record? Was that Callahan?
That might have been. Did that run into a little bit of Colombo too?
I don't know. 2014. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up.
It might have been. I don't know when Colombo, because he got. I mean, honestly, even when he had the helm, they were pretty darn good too. Now, granted, they had. I mean, that was probably their peak offensive line, but Colombo. I felt like Colombo did a pretty good job, and then he got ran out. But I don't know if that overlaps with his time.
It was Bill Callahan.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. Running game Moses.
Mark Colombo was 2018 and 2019. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, bro. That was a magical season. It's not like Murray was this crazy good running back. He was really solid. Yep. But the offensive line was the best we've ever seen. I mean, since I've been alive. Obviously, the 90s, I was a little kid back then, so I don't remember. But since I've been alive.
You're right, because he was the kind of back that, similar to a Henry, where it was if you could stop him before he started, then you could bottle him up. But if you gave him creases and holes, that dude was tough to stop, leading league and rushing.
Yeah, and I mean, he had big strides, so he wasn't crazy fast from just a pure speed standpoint, but he was hard to catch if he got in the open field, because he did have those long strides. He's brutal. He was a physical back. I miss
The
that
Eric
guy.
the Eric Dickerson long strides.
Yep. Damn fumble in
Very
the playoffs though.
yeah, very similar runner to. I mean, not the same kind of runner, but not as physical, but a very similar upright runner to Derrick Henry.
Yeah, what kind of running back would you guys want? I mean, this next track, I don't know the names off the top of my head. I have to go pull a list up.
Gene T. You got Gene T.
Yeah.
Omarion Hampton.
Gene T's the one everybody's like raving about, right?
Yep. Hampton's at North Carolina. Then
When do you think the
have,
first back gets taken? Probably picks 10 to 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I would say middle of the first round. Middle, like between I'll say between picks 12 and 20.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be so deep from what I'm hearing that you can probably take a guy in the second or third round and be just fine too.
I know, but it's gonna be hilarious. It's because this is so Cowboys Nation, because we've been complaining all year about the running backs, and then we had a feature back. Then everyone was like, we just need guys. And then we get just guys, and it's like, oh, we need a feature back.
That's me.
And they're gonna freak out when we draft. Seriously, we drafted another guy in the first round. Insane. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I know it's coming.
Drafting a guy top 5 though, and listen, I was all for it because that was supposed to be, we were missing one little piece, right? And that was supposed to help Romo out when we took Zeke, and I was totally cool with that, right? But
I was cool with that. I'm a Michigan fan. I knew what Zeke could do.
I don't want a top 5 running back unless he's like a Bijan Robinson where he's multifaceted and can go play receiver, can play running back, Christian McCaffrey, like whatever it might be. Like I'll take him top 5. But if it's just a normal running back that, like a Zeke type, I'm not taking that top 5. I'll take one top 15, top 20 though. I'll take one with a top 15 pick.
I would take Gene T in the top 15 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's normal.
I was one of the guys that said, just give me a really good offensive line. And I'm thinking like 2014 caliber, which probably wasn't fair to say because that's rare. But I'm like, give me a O-line like that, pay them, and then just regurgitate a running back every 4 years, which I'm still on board with that. But make sure you get a good running back every 4 years. And the cool thing about that, you let the running back go after 4 years, you get a comp pick back. So it's like, thanks for leaving us. Appreciate your gift on the way out. You served us well, but enjoy wherever you're going.
If they could draft Will Campbell, I would move Guyton to right tackle.
Yeah.
I'd move him back to his normal position. But we'd have to see if Will Campbell was available. But I wouldn't rule that out either in your scenario of if you could get another guy like that for the offensive line, who's played. I mean, he's played left tackle, like that's like his position. I would kick Guyton to right tackle, let Will Campbell play left tackle, and then he could take it back in the second round. You can sell me on that too. Just depends.
Yeah, I'd like to see something done with the O-line. I feel like Zach Martin's going to have to be replaced next year. So is that going to be Bass, Hoffman, or are we going to have to draft a guy? Right, Steele is, I think next year is when you can consider letting him go. So Steele, I would be okay with parting ways with because he's been brutal since his ACL. So are they going to go O-line in the first round again? I hope not. It's so boring.
I could see it. Well, like you said though, if you couldn't be sold on that though, if they were like, oh, we'll take it on a tackle, we're going to move Guyton to right tackle.
No, of course. Listen, it would be smart.
I can trust it.
It would be smart to do. I'm just saying, from a funness standpoint, it'd be boring. But
yeah.
it would be a good move for the team if they can grab one of those top guys. Anyways, the Steelers game. All right, we're talking draft stuff here. The Steelers game. So I haven't watched much of the Steelers. I watched a few drives or whatever.
I watched the Atlanta game when T.J. Watt went bananas.
That's what I'm afraid of, is T.J. Watt versus either one of our tackles, honestly.
Either he's just going to be flipping. He's going to be taking his. He's literally Dylan going to be going into the game. He's going to rush from both sides to start out, and then he's going to go with who's struggling right now. All right, I'm going to go back over here. All right, let me go back. I'm going to rush again 3-4 times. Let me go over here now.
It's going to be brutal
all day.
It's going to be brutal, and I think he's going to be the key factor in the game. Forget the run defense and all that. I think the key factor is going to be what do you do against T.J. Watt, because I think Dallas will be okay against the run. I think they can probably contain Justin Fields to an extent with his legs, I just don't know because I say these things, but I have so much doubt when I say them. Like, because I don't know what to expect. Like, is Mazi going to take another step? I feel like he's going to, but I don't know. But obviously, yeah, my biggest worry definitely is 100% TJ Watt. So,
I
and
don't know about a step. I think he's just going to be. I think he's going to be. I think we'll look at Mazi this game and go, okay. I mean, he didn't like wow, but he played solid. I think that would be a win coming. Like as long as he doesn't. The last thing you want to see is like the oh man, washed, and then you're like, okay, now it's up and down. If he played solid, I'd be like, okay, that's all we need to do.
well, yeah, I'm okay with solid. I was gonna say too that I think the Steelers play a lot of too high shell, so you got to figure out a way to bring a safety down. So I think the Cowboys figuring out how to run the ball is gonna go a long ways in this game.
And too high shell in breaking routes. Come on, man! In breaking routes, can we get away from the curls and the comebacks?
Let's run some mesh stuff, man. Let's get some bodies tangled up in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I know Rob disagrees with me, but like, and I know David agrees with me on this. I don't think you can't tell me that he had such an amazing. It was my call. You can't tell me that he had such an amazing camp, and then all of a sudden now he just got old. Like he fell off the steepest cliff in 4 weeks, and the dude can't run.
Yeah, well, the problem is the guy's not.
You're making a short receiver do comebacks and curls where cornerbacks can use their length and knock the ball down.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
He's light, so he gets hit. I mean, he's got good hands. Like he'll go catch the ball in the crowd, but
shallow cross drags. Don't see him at all.
No, you don't.
Good luck trailing him.
You don't. I think a lot of times they're sitting. So these teams are playing. Like I called in today. Obviously, I don't know if you heard it or not. These teams are playing with light boxes. They're clogging the passing lane, so they're dropping the middle linebacker back. So like you're talking about the crossing routes, and you can do that to an extent, but you got to get deep enough to be under the safety over the linebacker, and that can sometimes be a tough throw. What I would like to see, when I mentioned in my call, is they've got to figure out a way. You're not going to push the ball vertically consistently, not even vertically, but on posts and things like that downfield with these safeties lurking, unless you can get them to commit against the run. They got to at least respect it where they can't just run 80% of the game, too high safety with light boxes and expect to be able to throw the ball. That's why you're seeing so many of these routes. And I don't think they're like, man, Cook sucks now, he can't run anymore. That's why he's running these curls and comebacks and stuff. It's because they don't want to push the ball downfield with a safety lurking and have to have Dak fit in a tight throw, 25 yards downfield.
That, and what worries me about this is, like you've already mentioned about Watt. I still think the Arizona game like haunts. Even though he said he should have trusted it, I still don't think that Mike McCarthy has opened up because I still don't think he trusts the tackles. They're watching the tape just like we can see it, and I don't know. I think he's calling a very conservative game because he doesn't trust these two tackles while they're playing right now, and that is where I go. Figure it out, Solari. Help these guys out. Because if we're going to be hampered all year because our offensive coordinator can't call a game and can't call deep enough routes, and we're going to do comebacks and curls, I'm going to go fucking bonkers.
It's also why you're seeing Dak roll out to the short side of the field on like 3rd and 3 and throw the ball because you don't want him sitting in the pocket and getting hit.
Yeah. So that's why, and remember, that was a thing in the Arizona game last year about like, well, the offensive line did play better than I thought, but he played a very conservative game plan after the game. What did he say? He's like, well, I should have probably opened it up a little bit more. So is he doing that right now as well? That's how it looks. Otherwise, I can't explain it.
Yeah, what happened last year where the offense just started clicking? What was that? It was week 6 or so, and they started getting Brandon Cooks more involved. He didn't have a ton of receptions, but he had more targets, and his targets were meaningful.
The motion increased, right? And then, like I said, I think that Arizona game McCarthy he had to get over the fact of like, because we had 2 starters in, right? We had TJ. We had TJ in, and I think Adoga had to start that game, right? And I think that was the game where he was very worried about the offensive line, TJ Bass and Adoga, and they actually did probably Adoga's best game.
That was game 3, right?
But they played better. Yeah, and then they slowly, it got better after that because he kind of started opening it up a little bit, and then the motion came in, and then they were off to the races.
So after the Niners game is when it like really kicked into high gear, and they were putting up like the 30 plus points a week after the San Francisco loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too because when we play those big teams like that, it's like McCarthy goes into a shell, and I don't know if it's just the flow of the game, if he's nervous that they don't want to make mistakes, and have it be a blowout. Like I don't. It seems like every time we play a tough team like that, he goes into a very conservative shell.
Then that worries me about this game.
But then it's weird because then there's some teams too, like the Lions are obviously a really good team, but like that was a shootout last year, right? Like that was a good game. So it's not always the case, but I feel like there's certain teams, maybe it's certain schemes. I don't know.
I don't know. It's definitely strange.
Yeah, it's weird how you can
What's
be
up?
a team that puts up 35 to 40 points like back to back to back to back, and then all of a sudden like you're struggling to even just get a first down.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What's up, William? What's up? Is it forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's Paula, right? Florida Sunshine?
That's Paula, yeah.
I win.
That request to speak. David.
But yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm like I said, if as good as last game was, like my confidence level was a 2 last week, and I bumped it up to a 3. You gotta show me to make me bump it up even more.
Oh, I gotta pin something here in this. How do I do this? Nick's talk.
Hey guys, I've enjoyed following you guys on Twitter.
Hey,
you know,
Thank you, sir.
I'm optimistic throughout the season, even seasons like this. I'm a long-time fan, so I've seen seasons like this before, especially whenever we think it's going to be a great year and then it completely changes after the first few games. And I do think we're going to see some younger players get better. So I do have more of a positive spin. It just, you don't like to see when we can't consistently get better. And that seems, I don't know if some of it has to do with the whole murmurs about Mike's lack of consistency throughout the week, getting you've kind of heard Aaron Rodgers say something about, having a lackadaisical week and not staying real serious. Maybe there's something to it. I don't know, but I'll enjoy the show and I'll root them on throughout.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And I've probably been, and you know what? I'll be honest with you, William. It's probably some of my pessimism probably comes from. I don't know if Dylan, if you caught this in the call with the last one with Knicks, but I was f bombing left and right because I wasn't like I get what Michael's not here now, but I get what he's saying. Like when we talk about trades, I just at some point, and fine if it's build our core, this year, and it's a rebuilding year, like you've stated, which I kind of agree with, and we go into next year and we have our core intact, and we have this money. I'm already pessimistic that they're not going to spend that money next year, and look at their roster and go, yeah, I know that we have our guys, but this guy over here is better than our guy. And do we want to pay the tax in free agency to get a good guy? We don't want to, but we need to because we need to get better. And I just, at this point, the bar for me is so low with this front office. I just want you to try. And I think the fan base just wants you to show that you're fucking trying, man. Just try. Just show us you're trying something, as opposed to I get that you're drafting well, but we're sort of getting to the point at nauseum with and everyone knows all the catch. We like our guys. It's the pie. It's all this stuff, and it's just try something, dude. I don't even care if it works. Like people talking about Derrick Henry last year, and like the fact that we didn't get him, and they go, well, how much would he have really helped us? And I go, let's actually see for a change. Can we do that instead of doing the well, we didn't get him, so I mean, how much was he really going to give us? And it turns out dudes are getting injured, hitting him in his quad, getting concussed. Like he still is a dude. Like just try.
Yeah, and
That's
I
all
feel
I
like
want.
we talked about the tax you got to pay in free agency, and I feel like when you have a glaring hole that's been a problem for a while, and you have question
It's
marks
about to
here,
be
like,
safety.
well, I think they have 2 safeties that can play, I think,
True.
the 2 that are out there are not the guys. I don't think anymore. But like, pay the tax, man. Pay the tax. Suck it up. Swallow the medicine. Pay the tax. Like, I'm talking specifically about defensive tackle. You had some guys that signed for less than they were supposed to sign out there,
Yep.
like Reader,
Yeah.
DJ Reader, for one.
Yep.
And like, just pay the tax and be done with it. And you know that you got a player, instead of hoping for the best, hoping Mazi develops, hoping that you can put this patch together in the last week of training camp, sign some guys, and hopefully they work out. Well, none of it's working out. So,
Well,
they don't want to pay.
if y'all think about it, how much of this season has really played out because of Dak and CD's contract? Because that had to have equated into not keeping some of the guys that went with Dan Quinn. But at the same time, man, I probably this year more than ever, I see the frustration with the front office way more than I can recall in recent history. So, there's something about it. But you guys, I love it when y'all talk about the salary cap and pushing the money around because I've never taken a lot of time to understand that. But obviously, other teams have figured out way better ways of doing this than just drafting and hoping these guys develop.
The Cowboys
So,
with their
we
contracts,
got to get
man,
caught up.
it's very linear. I don't know what the real word for it is, but I call it linear, where it's like, okay, here's your start date, here's your end date, and we have a set time frame in there with like maybe the 2 or 3 year mark where we're going to restructure that thing and push a bunch of money down the road. Whereas you look at like the Eagles, and listen, they're going to get screwed with this Jalen Hurts contract. I'm telling you right now, because they're not going to extend him, or if they do, they're going to suck. He's just not that good. He's good in specific schemes, but those schemes have been figured out. He can't read defenses, whatever. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole and talk about Jalen Hurts, but his contract blows up at the end of his deal. And so you're talking over $100 million in dead cap over the course of a couple of years. And I know it's not going to work out for them. I don't think it's going to work out for them, but that contract did allow them to sign a ton of dudes in the meantime and have that window, that 3 or 4 year window. I'll call it an all-in window, right? Where
they're just trying. Hey, at least they're trying.
They're
man.
trying. They're gonna get screwed in the long run, but they're gonna have 3 or 4 years where they're going for it, and at least they're going for it. The Cowboys do that. They have like a 1 year go for it year. I feel like last year was their go for it year, and now they're reloading.
And they didn't go for it. Dylan. They sat there with a Marquise Bell safety at linebacker, and Jerry Jones told everybody, "We're good." You're not good. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Our front office is.
Well,
basic,
I guess their
They're
go for it
basic.
version was trading for the 2 guys right before the season started.
I know.
Low expectations,
Stephen
I
Jones,
guess.
Stephen Jones said that's the equivalent. He told you, see, you guys are wrong. We
Yeah.
made the Von Miller Jalen Ramsey move. No, you didn't, dude. And again, if you think that is making the move and that's all in, then I don't think he understands what that actually means. To be honest with you.
Hey, I saw Paula, and then David. You guys have your hands up, Paula. If you want to go first, go ahead.
Look, the only way they want to win is they want to win their way, so they can say they were right. They are never going to admit they were wrong, ever, 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 ever. I've been watching this team for almost 50 years, so they're just not. They want to win their way and fuck everybody else.
Yeah, I agree. And go ahead.
And as far as the salary cap, see, and I've been saying this for years. The other 31 other teams, apparently there's different rules for the other 31 teams because apparently our front office has apparently different parameters than everybody else. Because we sure as hell don't know how to work the fucking salary cap. Because they keep feeding everybody bullshit, and the fans that don't know how the salary cap works keep sucking this shit in when all the rest of us know how the salary cap works. It's bullshit. We see all through that. We're not falling for the okie doke because we know how it works. You can make it work if you want it to. You have 23 million. You can do whatever you want with that and still have plenty of money left over. It depends on how you want to write that damn contract. You can write it however you want to and still have plenty of money left over because you got 100 million coming to you next year.
Well, it goes back to the linear.
Shut the hell up.
It goes back to the linear contracts, right? Because they do their contracts one way, and that's the way they do it. There's no bonus options in their contracts. I mean, it's straight it's the year 2002. They're still doing contracts the old way. They're not creative at all. And going back to the stuff about Jerry, a lot of people question Jerry's want to win and his desire to win, and he just wants this team to stay relevant, so they're in the news, all that. I disagree with that 100%. I just think, like you said, he's stubborn. I think that he wants to win really bad. He wants another ring before he dies, right? He's any day now. The guy could go, not to be morbid. But he wants to win bad. He just wants to do it his way. He thinks his way is the best way to do it, even though it hasn't been successful. And I think he wants to just do it that way. So David, what's up, bud?
What's up, man? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, sorry for the delay. I'm going to touch on some things that you guys talked about a little earlier. You guys were asking, like, when did things start to kind of click? And it was after the 49ers game when we just got, like, embarrassed. And I don't know if y'all remember, but CD finally spoke out and was basically saying, like, he needs to be more involved in the offense. And he, like, vocalized that. And like not too soon after that, they started sending him in motion, putting him in the slot, running those seams, those crossers, letting him get the ball more, and like they really started to feed him. And that definitely turned things around. And because of how dangerous of a weapon he became, that opened up things for the run game. And Pollard. I mean, was it Pollard last season?
Yeah.
I'm already forgetting. Yeah,
Yep.
Pollard didn't. He didn't. You know, I don't know. I mean, I thought he was pretty freaking good, to be honest, towards the back half. And then he was also catching passes out of the backfield and stuff, and it just made things open up after they started feeding CD more. I think the problem is because people, the next question would be like, okay, why don't you just do that? Do that this season and make it happen. Well, the issue is you have such a young offensive line that's still like continuing to gel. And again, I said this before the season even started. I called Nick and I just try to remind everybody it doesn't matter if BB's a great center. It doesn't matter if Guyton's a great tackle. It doesn't matter if Smith's a great guard or Martin or Steele individually. It doesn't matter if they're good individually. They can take care of their own individual responsibilities. It matters if they could flow together and they could work together. And it just doesn't seem like they've been able to accomplish that in the pass game or the run game. So you see CD Lamb's having an issue getting open. Teams are running, to too high safety, cover two look, cover two man under, whatever it may be, and they're basically blocking all passing lanes. Well, what you want to do is like, okay, fine, if you guys are going to do that, well, we're just going to run it down your throat. Well, our offensive line isn't very good at run blocking just yet together as a unit. And if they did decide, and if we were in a situation where we're like, dang, we can't run, we're having a hard time, let's just feed CD. Well, our offensive line is not very good at pass blocking just yet either. So it's like, I, I'm 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 not completely saying that this team is just gonna suck because I said it from the beginning. I have faith that as a unit they will gel. But these are issues that I kind of anticipated. These are growing pains that I felt like were going to happen, and I don't know whether they fix it this season. I hope that they fix it this season, but I'm not 100% confident that they will. But that's what
Growing
I'm
pains.
holding on to.
You got it. You got it right there, man. Growing pains. That's what the offensive line's going through right now. I think Guyton's going to be good. I think BB's going to be good. Both have been good in certain respects and not good in other respects, but they're rookies and that's to be expected. And you're right. It's about gelling. It's going to take time. And that's the question that we had earlier. It's like, does that happen with Michael here? Does that happen this season? How long does it take? Is it a next season thing? A lot of questions, no answers.
It's on Solari.
Well, that's what I was
Sorry.
going to say.
It's always on
That's what I
Solari.
was going to say also.
I'm
though, 'cause,
telling you,
like,
I'm gonna keep hammering Solari because I'm telling you, offensive line coach is the best job in the NFL. It's the second most important coach, yet they have to answer zero questions, and I have a lot of questions if Solari had any kind of time.
well,
But
I hear
we don't
you.
get to ask him questions.
I hear you. I definitely do. But at the same time, it's like I just mentioned, they have these pieces that are young, they're adapting, they're trying to gel together. It's like if I send you, Travis, to go fix like an electrical unit, but I give you tools of a plumber, it's like it's gonna be hard. You have to try to figure out how to use those tools. And I'm not giving him a pass completely, but I am just saying like it's a tough task because Solari may be like, okay, it's easy, black and white. Let's just do this. This should work. But for some reason, the offensive line is not communicating properly. Dak's still feeling out BB as far as I don't know necessarily know about the exchanges. I'm sure those are fine, but like there's issues. There's things that maybe BB's seeing out there that Dak is seeing differently because not only like because we talk about this all the time with option routes with wide receivers. Not only does the wide receiver need to see the same defense that the quarterback does, that way they can execute and throw it in the correct zone or throw it depending on if it's man trail technique. Dak needs to know where to throw it. CD needs to know where to run. But kind of the same thing goes with the center and the quarterback. The quarterback needs to be seeing certain things. He's communicating with the center. The center needs to be seeing the same thing and understand that. I mean, of course, BB has help on his left and his right, but there's so many issues that we don't really know what's going on. I just know that nothing is working. So I can't necessarily just blame Solari, but of course, him being the leader, you can.
I can, but you know what? I can push back on that and say I can because the offensive line names have changed in the offensive line. You can't tell me the running scheme was good last year. It wasn't. Yeah, it sort of got a little better, But we could also sit here and say the passing game kind of exploding also helped the running game. Like, would that
100%.
be
Yeah.
fair? I think that would be fair. So,
Yeah.
how good really is the running scheme? I don't think it's very good because the players have changed, and you can't. If someone can figure it out, I will put my hand up and say I'm wrong. But how the Washington team is with an inside three of Nick Allegretti, who nobody probably knows his name, Tyler Biotish, who everybody didn't want, and Sam Cosmi, who was a decent player at Texas, is playing good. That inside three is getting Jeremy McNichols, who, again, nobody knows, is getting them eight yards a carry. You can't tell me, and yeah, that's some of Daniels, but it ain't all Daniels, but they're moving people off the ball.
They're just clicking right now, and when I say that, I mean like.
So why haven't we clicked since last year then?
Well, we did click last year. You mean
I
the
wouldn't.
season?
Not running game wise though. Like I said,
I mean,
it opened
So
up because
feed
of the
feed
passing
CD
game.
less then. So go back in time and feed CD less. You know what I mean? Because you can't have both. You can't be like, oh, CD's setting records, Dak's setting records, but our running game sucks.
but
It's like, yeah,
Pollard
Well,
bro,
here's
you
the
averaged
did what
4
you did
yards a
what worked.
carry. He had a 1,000-yard season. He wasn't
But here's the
terrible.
issue too.
worked.
Mike McCarthy, didn't he tell us that before last year? What did you say? It was important running the ball, which we knew was kind of a lie. He's never been a running guy. Like, even when he was at Green Bay, he's never been a commit to the running game, and people are complaining about what right now? Well, Rico's only getting like 8 carries. Give him like 20 carries. I've seen that from a ton of people. Give him 20 carries. He's not committed to do that either. McCarthy's never been a big run game
And you
guy.
can't be
That's a
behind in his
fallacy.
games too and commit to the run like that. Kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong by any stretch of the imagination because we do have a pretty vanilla running game as well. You know, obviously we're not running the ball like San Francisco or Arizona, just even Arizona. But at the same time, like I said, I mean, I do think that, and I've said this for a while because I didn't feel the most confident about our offensive line last season. Obviously, they did decent, but I've always said that if you fix an offensive line, you fix an entire team. If you fix a defensive line, you fix an entire defense. You know what I mean? I felt like that for a long time, and Dylan was just talking about 2016, 2014, 2015, the run. I think it was you, Dylan, and it's a good thing. So I'm not trying to call you out, but about how good the offensive line was and how good DeMarco Murray was and Zeke at the time. It's like, yeah, I mean, we had stellar offensive linemen, and they just Travis Frederick. We can't take away the leader that he was on that offensive line. I mean, not only like leader with the teams, but if you remember, like none of the offensive linemen were like doing interviews after practice or stuff like that. Like Travis Frederick came in, he started speaking up to the media. He would take accountability, yada yada. Zach Martin would start doing the same. You know what I mean? Smith, I don't think I think Tyron Smith said like 4 words his entire career here, but yeah, I mean he set the tone. I feel like Travis Frederick really set the tone in that room, and people followed suit. And I'm not sure if we really have that guy. I think it could be Tyler Smith. I think he's a really cool guy. He's outspoken. He's a leader. He seems to be accountable for things. He seems like he's about his business. So hopefully he can get people to follow suit. But yeah, I mean, I think we really need to go back to that. I used to call them the Legion of Room because they would make all that room, the running lanes.
Nice.
You know what I mean? I wish we can go back to those guys.
I'm telling you, running game Moses, David. I'm telling you, Bill Callahan.
Yeah, that's what
Bring it.
Broadus
Give
calls
him,
him all the time, right?
give him whatever he wants. Bring him back on the next staff. I hear what you're saying. Again, maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but I'm kind of ready for the
No,
guy who shall
and I don't think
not
you're
be
being too pessimistic.
to go.
Unfortunately, Travis, since he is in Tennessee, he's under his son, so I don't think that's going to happen.
I know, that's sad.
And I
I
don't think
know.
you're being pessimistic. To be clear, um, I just always, and I tell Dylan this all the time because we've done those shows with EJ. I just always like listen to what somebody says, and even if I agree, I'm gonna kind of play devil's advocate just so we're not all on here, agreeing with each other. But
Oh yeah,
at the same
steel man it.
time, like I definitely understand, like, dude, it is a pretty vanilla, inside zone, inside zone, inside zone, inside zone. I'm like, dude, you got some pretty dynamic, pieces, or so we think, but we're
Get
not gonna
Deuce
know
loose
unless you do it.
outside.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I
Like I
was
said,
so shocked. I think I actually tweeted Dylan whenever they actually threw that little swing pass to Deuce last game. I was like, oh my gosh, they did
do
it
you,
to the right
It
guy
got
this
called
time.
back, right? I think too, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
am I crazy? Do you guys not remember the? I know I've mentioned it before. Remember the little, like, it'd be like a tyrant or it'd be like a Tyler Smith. It'd be like a little toss, like a little pitch, where they would pull one of those guys out and just get somebody in space. Like,
Yeah.
where is that? Like, just do that with Deuce. Get him out in space. I don't see why it's that hard.
Yeah,
It's
literally
almost
just
like
give
the
the man a
same issues.
toss. I mean, that's it.
Yeah,
That's all you got to do.
it's like the same issues that Mike's dealing with in the passing game, where we're saying, we're talking about the same issues with both Mike McCarthy and Solari, is that like neither one right now, as of today, seems very good at using the guys that they have. I know everyone's talking about Flournoy. We'll get into that. But like I said in the call today, okay, bring up Flournoy. Are you going to use him correctly? Because you won a game where you had Turpin score a touchdown and then he got 0 targets. Make that make sense to me. Somebody, please.
I think Flournoy is going to fit into what they're doing because I think he is a guy that can take a comeback route, break a tackle. I mean, we saw in the preseason, break a tackle.
But Turpin fits into what they want to do, but they just don't give him the ball.
Well, but he's a small guy, though. Like, you're not going to run a lot of underneath stuff with him over and over. You can run some crossing routes with him, sure, but like the hitches and the things where he gets hit as soon as he catches the ball, that's rough on a guy that's that size. He's barely bigger than Deuce. But they do need to stretch the field. Even if they're playing too high safety, I don't even care. And we saw too high safety get beat here by Shaheed, just straight ran past the guys. I would try that every couple times a game. That's all you got to do. Twice a game. Just give him a deep ball and see what happens. Even if you overthrow it, just throw it past the safeties and see if you can run to it. Try to open it up that way. Make the safeties cheat back another couple yards whenever he's in the field. Stuff like that.
I think
little
what
things.
they're trying to do with Cooks, they're trying to make him be the Michael Gallup. Well, first of all, he's not tall like Michael Gallup. Yes, he's fast, but Flournoy can do some of those Gallup stuff.
He's also a good blocker,
he's
too.
He's a big body receiver.
Yeah, we want to run some tosses, right? Let's put Flournoy in the game on the outside and have him crack block.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying too, Dylan. Even if there's like a cover two man under, just two high safeties, to still run it deep. I mean, again, my highest level of football was Texas 5-5A football, which is actually pretty tough, bro. But Texas 5-5A here in North Texas, and I played safety, and there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between me being in a cover 2 or cover 4, and I'm like, okay, I know I could be 8 yards off the ball because I trust my speed, I trust the cushion. These guys, I'm going against Israel Valentina from wherever. I'm sure that I could. I'm not gonna lose my cushion. But then I go play against Euless Trinity or Southlake Carroll, and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm actually gonna stand like 12 yards because these guys are fast. These guys, I don't know what they eat, but these guys are different. You know what I mean? And you get beat one time, and all of a sudden you're a little hesitant to come help on the run. You're a little hesitant to you have like double check your eyes. So like I'm sure it happens at the pro level as well. Like Shaheed ran past those two safeties. I'm pretty sure if you go back, and Dylan, you probably did watch the 22. I'm pretty sure they were just a tick slower when coming to help, run support or something.
Yeah,
like that,
and it's like baseball, right? You got a big hitter, everybody's moving back, right? You got a hitter that's more of a placement guy, can't really drive the ball deep. You're coming up to stop him, right? It's the same thing with these safeties, the same concept. And all you gotta do is, you don't even gotta get beat one time, but just see the speed in person in front of your own eyes. And you take 2 steps, 3 steps back before the snap on the next go around. And maybe next time they run a slant, that gives them the extra space, the receiver underneath, to maybe break a tackle underneath and have enough space to get away from the safety and make a big play. So it's these little tiny things, these little setups in this chess match that the Cowboys, they can be good at. I mean, the offense was good last year. They did a lot of that stuff last year, but not so far this year. We'll see how it develops.
It's what Jordan Lewis said, details.
That's it. It's details, 100%.
They didn't. I don't think they didn't. I don't think they respected Shaheed, to be honest with you. And then all it takes is, but you can earn respect in one play, right? All it takes is one that you go, okay.
I just don't think the safeties are very good. I mean, I think
they
know the guy's got some speed.
I don't know, but like David's saying though, everyone's been there before, where it's different when because you hear DBs talk all the time where they're like, yeah, he got on me way faster than I thought. So I think they're looking and they're like, yeah, he's fast, but like, I mean, in their head, like, is he Tyreek betting on me? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, you're like, holy crap, he's already by me.
Yeah, and these guys like, I'm here. Like, I'm supposed to be back here. I'm here for a purpose. Like, I have the deep guy covered, but like, do I really have the deep guy covered?
Nope. Yeah, he gone.
And like as a quarterback, I mean, if you're looking and you see that your receiver and the DB are hip to hip. You know what I mean? It's like your receiver won because they're hip to hip right now, but they got to turn and run. They're going to be playing catch up. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's ridiculous. Sorry, my son just jumped on my lap.
You're good. You heard what David Carr told him, right? Did you guys see that clip of David Carr in the Cowboys game where he was telling Shaheed, just fucking run?
Yeah.
That's all he told Shaheed.
I have
that
on
like,
my
you gotta
I'm
love
doing
that.
YouTube live stream right now, and I have the 2024 highlights up for the Cowboys so far through weeks 1 through 4. I'm just watching it on replay over and over, and I keep seeing this is like the 4th time now I've seen Shaheed blow past our guys, so this has been a blast.
He said he told him before that play, he was like, just fucking run, and I'll throw it.
That's all you gotta
And
do,
he
man.
Sure did.
You gotta throw it like real deep so the defenders don't have a chance at it, and just let your guy run to it. Just give him a full head of steam, let him run to it. If he gets it, great.
Throw
If
it,
not, it is what it is.
throw it to space and let him run underneath it.
Yeah, and even if you overthrow it, I mean, the safeties are gonna have to respect it, like you guys are saying.
You just want
Going
them to
back
see
to
the speed. Yeah.
Yeah, going back to well, kind of on the same topic because we're talking about the speed with Turpin. A lot of people are mentioning that they want to see him more, and I agree. I definitely want to see him more, but I'm actually a little encouraged about how much we have seen him so far. I mean, I thought, am I tripping? He has at least a touchdown or two already this season, right? I
I think
mean,
he might have 2.
yeah, and he's gotten some catches over the middle and stuff. And I mean, he's not putting up godly numbers or anything like that, but I'm like, I'm just happy that he's a little bit involved. You know what I mean? So I'm encouraged about what he could do going forward. I'm hoping that the offensive line continues to gel. They get CD involved more. Once you get CD involved more, they're gonna have to start rolling coverages. They can't just sit in the shells, and that opens up things for Turpin and whoever else, Flournoy. You know what I mean? Um, I do want to say, just on the topic of receivers or players that aren't getting enough attention and like what the heck happened. Just because I'm watching this Thursday night game, Kyle Pitts, man, what the heck happened with him? I thought he was gonna be like a beast, and he's just dwindling
Because
away.
he's in Atlanta. That's why.
I know.
And
I'm
he's
just
been
like, poor
stuck in
fella.
Atlanta, and they haven't used him
Kirk Cousins was
correctly.
supposed
Because
to
I
fix him.
used to watch him at Florida, and he was fucking phenomenal at Florida.
Yeah,
There's a
they need to
lot
use him.
of as I'm saying, but isn't this the familiar theme with us? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know how you go from you're right, David. I agree with you that they've gotten him a little more involved, but how do you go from Turbin scored a touchdown to the next week he gets 0 targets? That's not that's not acceptable. I don't get. You can't say like, well, we're trying to look for him, we're trying to get him involved. He's versatile enough that you can get him the ball in a lot of different ways. For him to have 0 targets is kind of nuts.
Yeah, they get away from success a lot. They find what works and they stop doing it. I don't know if it's because they're trying to not overdo it, so the defense they're trying to keep the defenses guessing or something. But they definitely
trying
do
to
that.
we're trying to hide him. We're trying to keep him on the DL. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, not even that.
So
It's
no one
just
knows him.
it's just
I
you
know.
don't want to run it, the same thing 3 times in a row or something, right? I'm like, if it works, keep doing it until the defense stops it. But like, there's an art to it, there's a craft to it, right? You gotta kind of figure out when it's appropriate to get him in the game. And I don't want to see him like take a ton of receptions underneath. If you get, I really want to see the deep balls because you're not gonna take a lot of big hits on deep balls unless that ball is floating up there and a safety comes and destroys you.
5 or 6 a game is my
I don't want to see like the hitches and stuff where this 170-pound guy gets destroyed by these linebackers or DBs come up to make a big hit because that's gonna screw us in the return game as well if he gets hurt.
I'd give him like 8-9 touches a game where he gets like 5 or 6 targets and he gets a couple runs and I'm good.
Speaking of getting destroyed, I just watched Jalen Tolbert get destroyed in that Saints game on that ball that kind of floated up there on the sideline on the hitch. That was a rough one.
Yeah, Matthew hit him, right? Was it a hitch or a corner or something? It was on the
It was a comeback
far
route
side
of
of the
some
field,
sort.
right?
Yeah, and Dak had a guy in his face, so he couldn't bring his arm all the way forward. So the ball just kind of floated up there
Kind
for
of
a second.
floated down. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
God.
he's got to make that catch, man. He's
I
got to
agree.
make that catch.
He's got to come back for the ball.
That was a third down, right? It was like 3rd and 6 or something.
I think so.
Or second.
He's got to drive back to the ball is what he's got to do. He just stood there.
Yeah, he was like a little pooch kick or something. Like he was catching an onside kick.
Yeah, it
I
was.
was like, come on, dude, you got to go up there and get it. But yeah, man, that was tough, man. I mean, that's the thing too about this season so far. It's really hard to like, and that's why I mean, I have not been able to call this week. I'm gonna try to get through tomorrow, but my work schedule has been kind of crazy this week. But last time I called, I think it was last time I called, and I basically was just talking about CDE and Dez and the passion and the difference and stuff like that, and skip me, man. I already forgot what I was saying, dude. My bad. I'm playing a game.
Skip. Hit the button. Skip.
I'm playing a game on my phone, man. I almost died.
What are you playing?
I don't know, dude. You know those games where it's like,
Yeah. I'm playing some
gotta,
Game of Thrones thing right now, man. Got like some gems and stuff. I don't know what it's called, but it's got me sucked in.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Jesus, I was gonna say something too, and then I forgot. Because we started talking about mobile games. Jesus.
It's all good. Hey,
Messed
I'll
me
pull
up.
something out. But the thing is, the thing is with Tolbert too. I mean, I was expecting a whole lot more from him this season. And I mean, he was looking really good. You're talking. Travis was talking about Cooks was looking good in training camp, and he just like fell off the face of the earth somehow. And that he doesn't think that that's the case. Obviously, and I don't either. You know, so it's just scheme or they're having him run the wrong routes. But Tolbert's the same, man. I mean, obviously CD was out, so he got a lot of looks, and everybody was excited. He had his little sleeve on one leg, half sleeve on the other leg, and his cool little visor. And I was like, okay, this guy's looking the part. But so far, man, like I mentioned in a couple weeks ago, Dylan, in that podcast with EJ, he's kind of just like he's giving us Michael Gallup games, the old like the later Michael Gallup games, where it's like he's not doing anything all season, all game, and then whoa, we just caught a deep pass on the sideline. That was an amazing catch. I was like, that's great, bro, but we need more consistency out of you. You know what I mean?
What
So
is
that's
Tolbert's
been tough.
special trait? Is my question, right? Like
Routes.
you want? Is it though? Like he's not really quick.
It is. When he came out, his specialty. If you go back and look at his, like you can go back and look at his draft pro, it was running routes. But how much of his route tree do they? Again, it's this. We're talking about the same thing where Paul was like, yeah, they're using Cooks like Gallup, malpractice. They're using Tolbert like David just said, like Gallup, malpractice. They are not doing a good job of looking at a guy and going, this is what he specializes in. Let's scheme things up to accentuate that instead of saying, you're going to run a curl. You're going to run a curl. You're going to run a comeback. You're going to run a comeback. You guys all suck. Like, nobody can get open. Well, I mean, like, it's sort of like we're kind of capping, like, what they can do. Like, if you're a DB and you see nothing but that all game long, are you going to be worried about, man, this guy can run this route. He can run this route. He can do this. There's nothing to worry about. If you don't give them something to think about, they're going to sit on everything. And I just don't feel like they do a good job of saying, like, again, how does Turpin disappear and get 0 targets? Unexplainable. Tolbert can run more routes than comebacks and curls, but we don't do it.
Going back to Tolbert, like when I think of my slot guy, that's usually number 3 receivers, your slot guy, right? When I think of my slot guy, I'm thinking of somebody who's like a Cole Beasley type, maybe not so short, but like that's my preferred third receiver, somebody who's a chain mover, somebody who's quick in and out of his cuts real fast, run some nice routes. And you're right, maybe they're not using Tolbert that way, giving him enough of the route tree to take advantage of his skill set. I just haven't seen it. So like I said, maybe it could be them, maybe it's him, I don't know. But I'm like, okay, so we know Flournoy, we know Brooks, like they have special skills that make them stand out. Flournoy he's more of an outside guy, but I'm sure he can probably play some slot. But he's a tough receiver. He's going to go in and catch the balls. He can break tackles, big physical guy. So there's his special trait. Brooks is, Brooks is a fast guy.
To be fair, remember, one of the things Mike McCarthy said, and I don't know, you guys I'd have to look at, like, talk to EJ or somebody that follows it more. But one of the things that Tolbert also gives you is, you say slot, but he's one of those guys that they were being able to move around to all 3 positions. So he has versatility in that area too. How much has he moved around?
I mean, I guess so. CD can play on the slide, can play on the outside. All right, Cooks is really just going to play on the outside.
Tolbert can play on the outside as well. That's what I'm saying. Like he's not limited to just a slot.
For sure.
They were training. McCarthy said they were moving him into all 3. He was learning all 3 positions. That was one of the big hurdles for him this year, which supposedly was hurting him last year. He's finally he's being able to move. Unless I'm wrong, but I haven't really seen him moving around a ton because, again, there's been little to no motion. Is that fair?
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention to his position on the field, if he's slot or outside. Obviously, he's in the slot more times than not. But yeah, I don't know if he's been using the outside or not. But I guess that would be a situation where you got CD in the slot and you move Tolbert outside. But they need to do stuff to get CD open and scheme him open. Like the Bucks, I'm not watching that game, but I saw the highlight. The Bucks just schemed Mike Evans wide open in the red zone for an easy, like a 3-yard pass touchdown. Like, where's that at? That doesn't exist here, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Let's do some stuff to get our guys open.
Like Rob said it, the captain Rob said, why are we just saying, I mean, you know how Rob, everyone, I love Rob, but you know how Rob is, where he just playing straight to the point where he's like, yeah, we're basically just telling them, like, yeah, like, win.
Yeah,
we're not gonna help.
It's the old Jason
I'm not
Garrett.
Gonna help you. Like, you're good enough, just win.
It's the old Jason Garrett motto. It's, we're going to do what we do, and you got to beat us. So it's hat on hat, beat your guy mentality is what it seems like. But
Yeah, and it's the same issue that Paul was talking about in Atlanta with Pitts. Why is he not? Because they're not using him. It's an epidemic of like just bad. You just don't know how to use a guy.
I am going to go back to this, though, because I think I'm putting a lot of eggs in this basket. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. But this is just what my gut tells me. And I think this is just kind of football chess 101. But it does go back to what you're saying, too, about not using your pieces right. It all stems from the run game because McCarthy is seeing these defenses come out in these sets, right, in these 2 high sets. He's like, I can't throw this ball downfield because their chess move is to prevent me from throwing this ball downfield. So I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to play into their hand. So I'm going to try to scheme something open underneath and beat that 2 high safety coverage by getting the ball in my guy's hand. Maybe he can break a tackle and do something. But it all stems from not having a run game. And again, they're not using their guys right in the run game. The scheme inside zone sucks in this run game. But it all, in my gut, tells me it all stems from that. You got to get these guys out of 2 high shells if you want to push the ball down the field consistently, and not like you beat them on the edge in the cover 2, in the soft spot on the corner, like CD did on his big plays. You can't count on that consistently. That's just CD making a play. That's not anything. That's luck.
You gotta run them out of it. And is Mike McCarthy going to be patient enough and committed enough to run them out of it?
You can't get behind in games, so your defense has got to step up. You can't go 3 and out and kill your defense either, but you can't get behind 21 points in the first half and be like, yeah, we're going to commit to running the ball too. So, which has happened twice now this year. They committed against Giants, and they were okay. Dowdle was 3.5 yards a carry. They ran the ball okay. I think it was better than what we saw, so it got us a little excited, but it still wasn't very good. I just want to see. I don't want to overuse Lipke, but I want to see more Lipke. Is what I want to see. 100% of his touches have been successful so far this year. Everything he's done as far as when he's touched the ball has been a success for one reason or another.
That one-handed catch was freaking phenomenal.
You know what sucks in that play? He had Brandon Cooks wide open for a touchdown down the field, but he had pressure and was moving up in the pocket and didn't see him. Brandon Cooks was wide open down the field.
What's crazy is they've used Lipke in more multiple ways than anybody else.
Yeah. That's true.
Hey, just do the same thing you're doing with Lipke, but do that to all your guys.
So are you saying Lipke is the queen in our chessboard? Queen Lipke?
Apparently, because everybody else were just like, nope, you suck, you didn't get open. Nope, you suck, you didn't get open. Because that's like the 10th time the cornerback's seen a curl or a comeback. Well, I mean,
Deuce is the short little pawn.
Yeah, I mean, tell me, Andy Reid wouldn't be getting Deuce like 10 touches a game.
Yeah, like 6 to 10 touches is great for Deuce, 100%.
Tell me he wouldn't. Tell me I'm wrong that he wouldn't get him 10 touches a game creatively.
And I hear what Nick says about having to you got to run in the middle, right, with Deuce and stuff, and he's got to do everything a running back does. But you've also at some point in time got to be like, this is what my guy does best. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get him the ball in space and see what he can do.
Facts.
What's up,
Hey, everybody.
Look at everything that he did with Tyreek Hill. He can do that same shit with Deuce.
What about? Well, no, it's funny because we do the same thing when we have either Turpin or CD in the backfield. So it's not like we're not telegraphing that,
Yeah, CD's our best running back. What the stats going around where we had like 4 10+ yard plays right on the ground. CD's got 2 or 3 of them. Like that's disgusting.
Yeah, I think. Yep, and Dowdle has a 10. That's it. It's just 1 10.
That's gross. Champ.
Deuce keeps getting
screwed. Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey Champ.
How you doing?
Good.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good, brother. Good.
I'm doing well. Hey, I got a question for you guys. So I was listening to Talking Cowboys and stuff. This injury with B. Cooks. Apparently, it's been lingering since training camp. They said, in training camp, he was tearing it up while CD wasn't there. And then I think this injury happened. And I'm a little annoyed that we've used the first quarter of the season and we never moved Fanoy up. If he's hurt, he's hurt. And it sounds like they were waiting for this little mini bye week to get this little procedure done that was supposed to be a minor thing. It wound up turning into something big with the infection. But I'm thinking, this is the NFL. Number one, don't risk him injury-wise for the long term. Number two, we don't have time to put a hurt guy out there. Or is that hurt guy better than anything else we have? Like, what's the deal? So it kind of annoyed me when I heard that. I'm thinking, you're not giving our team the best chance to win. Why would you do that?
Kind of the
Well,
same.
look
That
what
was
they did
weird.
with
Do you guys
Zeke.
have a take on that, or?
I mean,
Yeah.
look what they did with Zeke before he left. He played the whole year on a bum knee.
That's true.
Well, look what their philosophy was with Gilmore last year in the playoffs too. Instead of taking him out, you changed their whole defense around to play zone instead of man, and they were getting burnt all game. So I guess that's just their philosophy: is that 80% of a a really good player is better than 100% of a decent player.
That goes to depth.
And the whole time we're sitting here looking at him. We're sitting here looking, going, why can't he get any separation? That's been the whole talk all season so far. Is he's not getting any separation? He's not moving. Everybody's thinking, did he lose a step? Is he done? What's going on? And then this injury comes out, and I'm thinking, if he's hurt, why not bring somebody else up and at least try? Look at Puka Nakua last year. What if we had something like that? I get it, Puka's really special, but you just never know.
Miles Austin, right?
You got the difference.
Miles Austin.
The difference is you got Sean McVay being able to kind of like sort of bridge this together, being able to scheme a guy open and help a guy out.
My thing is,
that's true.
We're not. I don't think. I mean, again, I get everyone saying like bring Flournoy up, but like tell me they're going to use him effectively. I don't believe it.
I see. I think they will use Flournoy effectively because he's a big body receiver, a strong dude.
Yeah, they're
going to
run
catches
some of the same stuff.
Same things, but that's kind of what he's meant to do. Like he's meant to catch the ball.
But that's not going to fix the problem, though.
No, but you're saying, are they going to use him to his skill set? I think that's his skill set, and maybe he can break a tackle or something. Who knows? But
or would you guys be mad if they brought him up and he got 0 targets? Because that's very possible.
Yeah, that would piss me off.
I mean, they just did that with Turpin, who scored touchdowns, and they gave him 0 target. Like again, I don't understand how he scores touchdowns, and the very next week you give him 0 targets. I don't understand.
Yeah, a lot of people are really excited about Flournoy coming up, and I get it. It's going to be something different. It's going to be something to look at. But I mean, if I'm 100% honest, I'm like, I don't know what everybody's so excited about. Like he hasn't proved anything. Like he hasn't done anything. Like it's a switch up.
It's because you saw some stuff in the preseason from that was exciting. I think is why people are.
It's because the talk has been everybody that they can't get open. So it's just like, well, let's try a new guy. But that's my point is like we could try. If you brought Tyreek Hill in here and you told him we're going to run nothing but curls and comebacks with you, he's not going to be Tyreek Hill. You feel me? Like,
listen, I called in today. I said I don't want Devontae Adams because he's not going to put you over the top, and I don't care what they do. Obviously, he's going to make the offense better. Like it's going to be another threat that defense has to worry about. Maybe take some heat off a CD, but until you fix the ground game, nothing you do in the passing game is going to matter because they're just going to sit over the top all game long. Not going to matter.
And was this injury from training camp? Because I thought I was seeing the infection came from shots that he got like after the Giants game or something.
Well, that's the infection, but the knee injury's been lingering.
Okay.
What he got fixed in New York was the lingering knee injury, and then
that's when the infection came from.
He got surgery. He got surgery, like some sort of minor surgery in New York after the game, and that's where the infection came from.
Yeah, then Dr. Cooper had to go in and do a scope and clean it out.
Rescope it, yeah.
Okay. They're using dirty needles, man. I don't know.
Probably a Giants fan, bro. Did the surgery on
dirty needles.
He was a Giants fan.
I guess
in Washington a few years back with Alex Smith, right? Except that was like a devastating infection.
Right. Yeah. They had to. That's what caused all the extra surgeries that he had to have because of the infections.
Yeah, like a flesh-eating bacteria or something. Didn't he?
To answer your question, champ, I don't think he's lost a step. I just don't think like David's in here, and I shouted him out on the show today. I don't even know if he's run a single corner route.
He did when he scored his touchdown against the Browns.
Oh yeah. Sorry, when he scored a touchdown, he ran one. But other than that, like it's like duh. Like,
well, I'm sure he's run some corner routes. The question is, has he been throwing the ball? Because unless you watch the all 22, all the plays, like you don't really know what's really going on for the most part.
But I damn sure know he's run a lot of comebacks and curls.
Yeah, it's true. Exciting stuff.
And that's not his sauce.
Is that anybody's sauce? Like, I understand you got to do that here and there. Like, it's just part of the passing tree. But like, is anybody like my bread and butter is hitch routes?
Like when
Make
you're
it
when
like
when I
Jason Witten, maybe.
I was a slot receiver in high school, David, and that was the first thing that like route number 1, 5-yard hitch. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
basic.
1, 2, and
But
3. It was
you ask
Interesting.
if that anybody's bread and butter. For me, honestly, bro, the person in the NFL who I feel runs like the best comebacks is a guy like DK Metcalf because he runs like a 3.9, which obviously he doesn't run a 3.9, but he's extremely fast. He's extremely big. So corners don't really want to go get up and put their hands on him because he can outmuscle them. But if they do try to, he could outrun them. So he's gonna try to outrun them. They're gonna get
Yeah.
on their pony. They're gonna try to make sure they stay over the top. And as soon as they do, he's got the explosiveness to plant his foot in the ground,
Yeah.
come back.
Facts.
And even if they do stay with him, he's
Long
got the
arms.
hands, the long arms. He's gonna catch that ball. He's gonna shed a tackle. DK Metcalf is like the guy that you want running a comeback.
He's
in my
as
He
opinion.
get
jacked as anybody I've ever seen in my
he
life.
gets
It's
he
ridiculous.
he gets on top of DBs at the route high enough where as soon as he plants, they're still going. He stops and they're still going 2 yards.
Dude, that catch he made last year against Bland on the end breaking route, it was like 3rd and 15 or something. And that, first off, that ball was immaculately placed. What a hell of a throw by Geno Smith on that one. But
You know,
the second it touched
Shout
his
out to
hands,
Gino.
I was watching him last week, and I'm like, yo, it's actually a blast to watch this guy play football. Like, mad props to this dude for getting his career on track and
The
getting
Jets
going.
almost screwed you.
Yeah. You know, and on that topic too, I wonder how many careers have been ruined by like just shit teams. Like the Browns go through like 20 something quarterbacks, right?
You mean on coaching staffs not using guys properly?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think we've done that.
Pew 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 pew.
but
But I know,
Baker-
But
I
you've
know
had
what you mean,
two.
like,
You've had two
completely
franchise
ruined.
quarterbacks here though, back to back. Like the Browns went through 20 something quarterbacks who could have been good quarterbacks elsewhere, but it was just a losing culture, and that culture in the Browns that just killed these guys'
I bet
careers.
they wish they had Baker back.
Shout out Tim
yeah,
Couch.
that's what I was about to say.
Probably not,
Speaking of Browns,
because he
speaking of
wasn't doing
Browns
anything.
and quarterbacks and stuff like that, Baker Mayfield for the first time since I thought it said 2020. I thought that's what the little banner said. For the first time since 2020, he threw 3 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, he's looking great, man, and he looked really good last season. I'm sorry, last week. So, yeah, I mean, dude, these guys sometimes they need to change the scenery. They need a new coaching staff, and things.
Look
are
at
starting
like
to click.
Case Keenum, right? That one magical season he had in Minnesota, and then they're like, "Nah, we don't
Oh,
like you
yeah.
anymore." Like,
The
screw you.
Minnesota
crazy.
Miracle.
Yeah. And then they cut him, or they benched him, whatever they did the next season. That sucks.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like these guys just need a change of scenery sometimes. And like Baker Mayfield out in Cleveland, if they kept him, he wouldn't have been anything. So best for both teams, I guess, to part ways on that one.
You
Well,
know
look
it's
at
a thing.
Sam Darnold. Look
Yep.
at him
Yeah,
There you go.
in
100%.
Minnesota. I mean,
Look at
Jimmy
Trey Lance in Dallas.
McConnell
Oh
is just-
shoot.
Hey, hey, talk to me in 3-4 years.
No, that's what's crazy though.
I'm sorry, Dave. That's the only, like I said before, that's the only reason I know I'm gonna be the last dude on that boat, and that's fine. That's the only reason that gives me somewhat hope. Because you've mentioned it, Dylan, before about like, okay, Dak signed a 4-year deal. Is he gonna sign another 4-year deal? Probably not. I'm just saying the dude's gonna be 26, 27. It would, if McCarthy stayed, which I don't think is gonna happen. So this is a moot point. If he did stay, I think it would behoove him to stay and develop behind a guy like Dak. And at 26, 27, you can still be a starter for 8-9 years.
So you're the captain of two
I don't
ships
think
right
he's
now,
dead.
all right? One ship is
Yeah.
almost underwater, all right, and the other ship is rising like a submarine.
Are you catching on to how I like it? I like to buy low and
Yeah.
go high.
You're like the
Nah.
pump and dump guy.
That you,
Stocks.
Steven?
David, what are you? Yeah. What's up, David? I do want to say something.
I was just gonna say, it's kind of crazy, right? Because we're talking about free agencies right now, and Dylan, you made a great point that I feel
Hell yeah.
like, yeah, hell yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say is that you made a great point. No, I'm just kidding. No, you made a
Hell
great
yeah.
point, basically saying, like, if you're not bringing a guy, if you don't feel like your roster is Super Bowl ready, and you just need that one guy to put you over the top, then you don't really want to, sacrifice draft capital or any sort of capital, depending on how you look at, the numbers. And it's kind of crazy that we're talking about Trey Lance right now, even jokingly. But I remember before the season when we didn't know, like, is Dak going to sign? What if he decides to go somewhere else? We don't really know what's going to happen. I remember asking, like, for me, it's an easy question. Like, if you think that this is a roster that's Super Bowl ready, then you keep Dak. It doesn't matter. You give him what you need to give him, and you continue to ride. Because at that point, I was seeing him as a free agent. If which obviously he wasn't, but that was my viewpoint. If you feel like your roster is ready and you just need that one guy who's Dak Prescott to take you over the top and get you there, then it doesn't matter. You put pen to paper, you get him in here. If you don't think that your team is Super Bowl ready and you want to take the rebuild, route, then maybe you don't sign him. Maybe you let him play this season out and you let him walk, and then you begin rebuilding. And it's just kind of interesting to kind of see how the season has started. And obviously, there's been injuries and offensive line issues, but it kind of seems like, and of course, I'm not saying that we should go back and not sign Dak, but I am saying it. It kind of feels like maybe if this was Dak's last year, I'd be like, you know what, F it, dude. Our offensive line sucks. Our defensive line sucks. Dak's gonna be gone next year. We're good. We're rebuilding. That's fine. But the fact that we invested so much money and it seems like we're further away than I anticipated is what's a little bit discouraging. What do you guys think?
Well, I think this is
And
a
the problem is, you've heard Stephen Jones in the front office say, like, I'm ultimately glad they signed Dak too, even though I was championing the Trey Lance thing, just as see maybe what he can do and be patient or whatever. The problem is, again, this front office philosophy is we paid Dak. Okay, Dak, go win with less.
Yeah, it's tough.
I just think
That's that's how they want to operate.
this is a reload season. I'm not going to call it a rebuild because we have too many key pieces in place to be a rebuilding franchise, a rebuilding team. We have obviously the quarterback, you've got the left guard, got the receiver, got Micah, you've got Overshown. I think he's going to be an all-pro at some point is my guess. This dude's crazy. If that defense can shape up. You got a lot of really good key pieces in place, but you're also missing some key spots as well. Like obviously defensive tackle has been an issue. Running back is non-existent. You're having issues with your center and left tackle, but they're young. They'll develop and be fine is my guess. So I think this is a reload season. It's not a rebuild. And my guess is they'll be back in as a real contender, depending on how they draft and their activity in free agency within a season or two. They're not very far off. I just don't think this season's very realistic, obviously.
Let me give you the house analogy that I always give. This team is really good about finding the foundation pieces and building a floor, building a solid roof, building walls, using quality materials and all that stuff. But it's not the house you necessarily want to go over and go have a party to or entertain because you don't have the pool, you don't have the pickleball court, you don't have the basketball court, you don't have the home cinema.
God dang.
I'm just saying, bro, I get it. They're going to have the core locked up when they sign Tyler Smith and Parsons next year. Okay, great. You have your core. Now go above that. Don't just tell me like, okay, we're just good. Yeah, we got the walls, we got paint on it. It's nice, but you really can't entertain it. But no one's good. William and everybody in here is not gonna have a fun time in my house. Like, what are you doing extra? Give me the extra. I want if you're gonna entertain, where's the pool? Where's the pickleball? Like,
So hang
give
on.
me the extra.
Are you saying that you got a pickleball court at your house? Is that what we're getting here?
I'm saying if I had that much money and I was going to entertain all y'all at my house, I damn sure better. Otherwise, I ain't got no business entertaining. How about that?
Yeah, I like that analogy. It's a good analogy, but that's why it's a reload for me because they have the foundational pieces there. It's just a matter of when they're ready to.
They're doing some demo.
When they got the 5 bullets in their 6-shooter, right? Are they going to put that last round in the I don't even know what you call it in a revolver, but they're going to chamber that last round and just put them over the top? Or are they just going to roll with 5 and hope they don't shoot a blank in the playoffs? Damn, that was a good analogy. I like that one too. I just made that up.
Man, Travis, you got me remembering when I hosted the 2012 Super Bowl. I guess it was 2011 season. It was actually McCarthy's Super Bowl win, and it was really, HD TVs were starting to be a thing, but not common. And I had so many people in my house on this stupid ass 32-inch non HD TV. I just
like Michael
really
Scott,
hit me
it swivels too out of the wall and everything.
You got to have that home theater set up.
Yeah, nowadays, not then.
You got to get that drop down projector.
What's up,
Exactly.
Nick?
Hey, we got
What's up, Beam?
Mr. Beam in the house.
Beamer.
I will send you an invite if you'd like to speak.
There we go.
That's right.
Just talking about the Jesus, a lot of stuff here, man. We covered a lot of ground in this last hour, huh? Hour and a half.
Yeah,
Hold up, we got Paula.
Okay.
I see your hand up while Beam's getting his speaking privileges.
Okay, so I'm gonna cuss here a little bit. So just putting that out there.
How dare
you? You've been cussing. You're good. You've been keep the energy. I love it.
I think the thing that really pisses me off more than anything is who's going to be the fall guy at the end of the year? It's going to be Dak.
Travis. Oh no, it's be Dak. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take.
And you 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 pay the man, but you're not going to give him the groceries. But yet you're going to make him the scapegoat, which just I find just utterly unbelievable. Like you insisted on paying him, you should have just let him go. Let him go be in the free market. If you're not going to give him the groceries to get the job done, say here, do with less, and then blame him because you can't sign anybody because you signed him. That's just utter
So
bullshit.
you're
I
saying
am
they're asking
so
him to make
sick.
they're asking him to make a filet mignon steak dinner with 2 pieces of bread and some peanut butter and jelly.
It's a
Pretty
different.
much.
It's a
Yeah.
different kind of purgatory.
But it's just like, don't sign him then. If you're not going to give him the groceries, then just don't fucking bother.
They
Yeah.
can't not sign him because they don't want to suck.
I guess the question is going to be though, who's going to blame him as the fall guy? Is it going to be the fans? Is it going to be Jerry? Like, I don't think Jerry and Steven are going to point to Dak and say, "Hey, it's his fault we lost."
They'll say something to the effect, to her point of, well, I mean, we would have liked to have
We
this
had to
and
pay.
like to
We
have
had to
that,
pay.
but
Right, because we had to pay our quarterback.
we did have to. Hey, Dylan, we did pay our quarterback and we did pay CD. I mean,
Right, we had to pay these guys.
what do you want us to do?
So we didn't have any money. Yeah, and that's gonna be what it is. And that's the part that just really pisses me off, is they're gonna make both of them the fall people
Get him, Paula.
when they could have fucking done something.
Yeah, I see that issue coming up when I guess they're asked the question, "Why didn't you sign more people?" If it's a lack of failure on the season as a whole, I don't think they'll point to that and be like, "Well, because of his contract and these contracts, we got screwed." But I could definitely see that
Well,
issue,
they've already
and they've
said
already.
we don't
Well, I
have
was just
any
gonna say
money.
that.
They've
I was
got
just gonna say that.
23.
I was just gonna say they've already said that.
They'd say we don't have any money. Yeah, they don't have money, but yet we have 23 million sitting there. Like, you could sign somebody with 23 million and still have money left over.
It's
Like,
already
don't feed me that bullshit.
That pie's already spent, Paula. That's what I'm saying. You laugh, but Stephen Jones for Stephen. That money's already spent. It's already spent.
I would like to sit down and do some
that
math.
100 million that they're getting next year, that's already spent too.
It's already spent. I said that earlier.
It's already spent. It's already gone.
We signed Tyler Smith and Parsons, and that's it. No free agency.
So before they signed Dak and CD, I was looking at the contracts across the league from some of the other premier players that got big deals at the respective positions, right? The edge, the quarterback, the receiver. I would like to now do that before I make a definitive statement on that and the salary cap situation. I need to go and look at some of the comparable positions that are about to get paid over the next 2 years and see exactly how much money is being spent or allocated to the cap in the coming years for those deals, because they have those deals in mind. That's why they're not doing big moves consistently. They got to pay their guys is what they're going to say. But I need to sit down and do the math and see exactly how much that's going to cost them. I'd be interested to see.
Someone called in this week and said it. During the Dak rookie year, do you know what we were in spending?
I'm sure it was pretty low.
25th.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, and they're only paying him 4,000. Like what, $4 million a year?
And it wasn't like they had a lot of Romo dead money on the books either, because they didn't.
Right, exactly.
They had a little.
They had a very small
amount.
Very small. It was like $5 million in the 2017, I think, and then
nothing
the next year.
Was 10, I think. But
it was very little. The overall percentage of the quarterback position those years was very small.
Right. They were the 7th lowest in the league.
Real quick, I see. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Conchi Sheshi, your hands up.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I just had a quick question. So, if you could choose between upgrading the number 2 wide receiver spot and upgrading at running back before the trade deadline, what would you choose?
Who would you choose?
You said running back or receiver 2?
Yeah, receiver 2.
Running back.
I'll answer, but before I answer, who would you choose? Conchi?
Whoa, easy, David.
This is a family show, sir.
Would you choose wide receiver or running back?
It's kind of a loaded question, just because I think the problem with the running scheme is the scheme itself. I don't think it's the personnel. I think Dowdle is comparable. I think it's just the way that they're running these guys into the ground every week. I mean, I looked at last year. I went to the first play first offensive play of every game last season, the first play that the Cowboys had on offense every year, there was only one time where they either ran the ball out of 11 personnel for the first play of the game. There was one time they ran in 12 personnel and under center and they ran the ball. Other than that, it was always, play action in 11 personnel in the gun, or they ran the ball out of gun in 11 personnel. So I just think their tendencies on offense, I think opposing defenses and coaching staffs have picked up on this on McCarthy's tendencies. And I think just teams don't fear our running game, and that's why they kind of have a good read on what McCarthy's going to do week to week.
Oh God, you're speaking to my heart, man. That's what I've been saying all day for this past couple of weeks. Yeah, the passing game ain't gonna improve until we can run the ball. It just is what it is, and that's why I'm like, we gotta. If I'm gonna make a trade, I'm gonna trade for a running back, because when you look at the all 22, there are holes that are open, and these running backs are taking the wrong lanes. It's not that the run blocking is consistently great, but when it is, you gotta reward these offensive linemen with a good run and good decisions. And you're seeing Dowdle, cut right when he should cut left, or whatever it might be. So I do think a solid running back could help improve that situation, which then in turn, chicken and egg, like I called in today to the show and talked about with Nick, chicken and egg. I think the run game fixes the pass game for sure.
Yeah, I want to see them run more out of 11 personnel under center. I don't want to see them run in the gun as much. I want to see maybe some more 12 personnel, maybe some outside zone plays, get Deuce going on the edges. Like, they're just so predictable with the way they're running the ball. And defenses aren't respecting our running game. So like you said, they're sitting on these shorter routes from week to week. Our deep passing game is a non-factor right now. So I think that's where it all starts.
I like to see these guys get a lead.
Rob wants to see a lot more Deuce, I think is what he said earlier.
I'd even like to see them when they're in too high. What is your name, Conchi?
My name's Kyle.
Kyle, I'd even like to see them do some 13 personnel. If you're going to sit there in too high, fine. We're going to bring in extra tight ends, and I know some people were against that last week, but give me. I hear you, but if you want to run somebody out too high, fine. We're going to big boy you.
This team doesn't big boy anybody. They don't have.
They don't try though.
Yeah, but to me, running the ball is a mentality. You see the teams that are good at running.
Right, but that's how you establish it, Rob. You be the big boy.
Next year, when you have
I don't know.
a new whole coach, Mike McCarthy's dead man walking. Mike Zimmer, like
Rob.
Rob's like the Grim Reaper.
Guys to understand he's out the door. This season is a throwaway, and what pisses me off is it shouldn't have been. They should have built on what they did last year. I don't understand dropping $350 million on two players at the top of their game, and you don't build around that. Is ridiculous.
You can't because you paid them.
Yeah, no, that's not true. You know that. This is going to be another Tony Romo syndrome. By the time Romo actually started to play great, unfortunately, his body broke down. By the time they decided, oh, maybe we'll get him, Zeke and the offensive. That's what's going to happen with Dak. By the time Jerry says, or Steven, or Charlotte, or whoever says, maybe we're doing something wrong. Let's try something different. You're going to have all new players. But this team can't. It's not, I don't even know if this. Like I said, they're getting blown out too many times to try running. Last week, I actually thought they ran the ball. This week, I don't even want them. Pittsburgh is really good against the run, so I want to see them try a little bit. But this has got to be a Dak game. Dak has to carry this whole team this week if they have a chance.
First off, I don't know if y'all seen the meme. I'm sure you've seen the meme. Rob is the Grim Reaper that's going door to door in the house there and knocking on the next door to kill somebody.
Hey, on that note, it's funny because Rob, and again, bro, we love you. I'm just picking on you a little bit, but it was funny because last season Rob was like, Dak's not the guy. We need somebody else. He can't, blah blah blah. And then at the end of the season, he was like, he's our guy, yada yada. And then we're only 4 or 5 weeks into the season.
No, but see,
in the beginning, hold on. In the beginning of the season, you're like, McCarthy's a great coach. 12-5, 3 seasons in a row. We need him, yada yada. And then already you're ready to fire him, bro. Like, what's going on?
Well, it's not that I'm ready to fire him. Jerry's going to fire him. He's already said. I mean, you can't have a guy. It's just natural. That's like getting married and telling your wife, listen, I'm giving you a year. If you don't do what I say and you don't treat me the way I want, you're out the year. You know what your wife's going to tell you? go F yourself.
So then, right
That's
now, Mike McCarthy is
what's
basically
going to happen.
Jerry's side piece, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, you put the whole the coaching staff must go to the bar and look at themselves and say, we're going to be fired because this team isn't good enough to go to the NFC Championship. I don't even know if they're good enough to make the playoffs. I don't think so. So they already know they're not going to be around, and the team feels that. Like I said, he's a substitute teacher right now. Mike McCarthy's the
Rob,
sub. Yes.
hey, I got a question for you. Along this Mike McCarthy getting fired thing, because I've been thinking about it. I don't know what's going to happen yet, but where do we go next? Like,
Well,
who do we go to,
they're going
in
to
your
go to Bill.
opinion?
They're going to go to Belichick.
You,
No, no
you think
doubt.
they'll go to Belichick?
Yeah,
Do
because
you think
first of all,
Jerry's willing to do that with
oh,
everything he
yeah,
went through with Parcells and
yeah, but wait a minute. He loved Parcells. Parcells unfortunately just got old and worn out. But he loved Parcells, and Parcells loved Jerry Jones. I think Belichick sitting out a year, getting a 24-year-old girlfriend, he looks different. He's
Pew
funny. He
pew.
laughs. I mean, I think I think he's going to go after Belichick. Which number one, he'll fix the defense because this defense needs to play a 3-4. If you're going to keep Micah Parsons, you have to play him in a 3-4, or he's a waste because he's getting
Yeah.
killed right
We had a whole
We,
conversation
now. So
about that earlier. Yeah.
Belichick, you
yeah.
bring Belichick in, and you bring in a young OC.
Not Josh McDaniels.
No, well,
No, no,
Josh.
no.
And
Listen,
No
Johnson.
Josh McDaniels. I
okay,
want. It
give
has
me
to be a
a
young
young, yeah,
offensive,
give me a
innovative
young play caller.
coordinator. Yes.
Give me exactly, give me a young because what Belichick is going to do is a couple of things. You're not going to lead the league in penalties for sure. You're going to be mentally tougher, which this team is not, and the defense is going to be better because he's going to change it to a 3-4, and that's where Micah can excel. Right now, Micah looks like it's week 14. He's worn down already. So
yeah, I agree.
I just think I don't see Jerry. Jerry only makes the smart moves when he's desperate. He did it with Jimmy Johnson when he just dropped 140 million. He did it with Parcells when he wanted a new stadium, and he's going to do it with Bill Belichick because he's going to be 81 years old. That's the only
He,
time Jerry Jones. All the other times he brought in scrubs that should had no business coaching this team. Dave Campo,
Dave
Chan
Campo.
Wade
and and
Phillips.
and
These
Rob,
guys are gonna.
the only reason I don't want Josh McDaniels is
Jason
because
Garrett.
McDaniels is only successful with one quarterback.
Oh no, I agree. I don't want Josh McDaniel. Give me a young hot shot. Give me
Go
somebody
poach,
that
yeah.
actually
The
puts guys
Rams
in
go
motion.
go poach somebody from the Rams staff, the Lions staff, the Dolphins staff, the Niners staff. Somebody on those staff. Go poach
Somebody
a
from
guy.
that Shanahan tree.
Yes, go
And I
poach
don't know if you
somebody
Yeah.
that.
guys, I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys talked about this. How come
Yeah,
nobody ever
maybe.
asks Mike McCarthy in the press conference? How come you don't use motion anymore? Last year, you used a lot of motion, and this year you use zero.
we
And
talk.
and,
Well, we talk about it.
and you know who said it? And I can't stand him because I think him giving quarterback advice is like Stevie Wonder teaching you how to drive.
Dan
Orlovsky.
Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky, but he came out and said they set Dak Prescott up more to fail than any other quarterback in the league. And I agree. They just say line up, run your pattern, Dak, try to find somebody open. They never scheme any of the players to get open. They never run any the only play they run dedicated is a reverse, is an end
If
around.
I'm not mistaken, I think somebody did ask him that in today's press conference. It might have been Nick
It
And
was
what
no,
Harris.
it was Clarence Hill.
Clarence Hill. Okay, yeah, and I
and what
can't
was his
remember
answer?
the. He said something about the analytics, or showing that we are doing it just as much as we did last. Some I can't remember for sure. I don't
He
want to
he
misspeak on it,
No,
but
he didn't really answer. It was the problem. He
no.
basically said that
Okay,
some of the games got out of hand to where we couldn't really do some of that stuff because they were in 2 minute, and when you're in 2 minute, you're in hurry up. You can't really do motions and whatnot because they've been trailing. That's his explanation for it is the two
okay,
minute offense.
Well, that's because he's a horrible play caller, and
he
that's
is.
why.
He is. He's the whole offense is just too vanilla. You know what everybody's going to do. That's why get Turpin on the
And
field and have him run crossing routes, and let's see what happens.
So do
And
you
the
guys miss
Weirdest
worst
Kellen
part of
Moore?
that is that we did this last year,
and to Rob's
Yeah.
right?
point, with Bill Belichick, he gushes over Dak Prescott when he's on Pat McAfee.
Someone's got
And,
a
So
echo on their
he
phone or something.
just
and
he just he gushes
I
over
think
Dak
it's yours,
Prescott.
Travis.
Travis, I think you got some echo on your phone. There you go.
You know,
Is
it's
that
funny.
better?
Everybody praises Dak Prescott, but us.
I know,
but the
but I'm
fans.
just saying. I mean, the way Bill Belichick talks about Dak, I know that he really, I mean, he likes him. He just gushes over him. And Jerry Jones would love to have Bill Belichick as a head coach.
I don't think so.
I think Dak Prescott is not a West Coast system quarterback right now. I think he's been playing in the wrong system for 4 or 5 years, and he's a good enough player to overcome some of that. But I picture Dak Prescott in a Ben Johnson like offense, precision passing, play action game, solid offensive line. You know, that's where he thrives. I don't see him as just a fun and gun type quarterback where he's throwing the ball 30, 35 times.
Well, he did have a career year last year. I'll say that.
He did.
In all
Yeah, he did.
fairness,
He was great. Listen, we knew this was going to be hard. Tyler Guyton is hurting Dak Prescott. We've seen who was that left tackle he had, Chaz or somebody
Chaz
that almost
Green.
That's great.
How
Chaz
dare you? How
Green.
dare you, Rob?
We
Chaz
we
Green.
Chaz
saw
Green.
we
Oh my God!
we
You had
saw
to
when
bring him
Tyron
up.
Smith was out. If Dak doesn't trust his left tackle, and I'm sure it's not just Dak, I'm sure it's
The
a lot
problem
of
is McCarthy doesn't
does.
trust his offensive tackles right now, which is why he's not calling deeper routes.
Well, I don't blame them. They've been horrible.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, and I think that's partly to explain why he hasn't. They're doing comebacks and curls.
You
and
are right though, Rob.
plants and whatever.
There have been some struggles on Dak, and Dak's fine, like whatever it is, what it is. But there have been some struggles. If you look at the All 22, there are plays he's leaving out in the field. You look specifically at that Hunter Lipke catch over the middle, where it was a really good throw to Hunter Lipke to kind of thread the needle, and it was a nice big play. Brandon Cooks was wide open down the field. I mean, wide open for a touchdown. Nobody around him for 20 yards. But Dak didn't see him because he had to move up in the pocket, almost crossed the line of scrimmage before he threw the ball. He was getting pressured, so he had no choice. But there's plenty of plays like that happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the guy that's really hurting them is not Guyton; it's Steele. We anticipated having to help Guyton, but you can't help
Yeah.
both.
Yep.
Davion in the house.
And Steele, I don't know what happened. I know he hurt his knee, but that's a couple years ago. He just looks so slow. They just blast right by him. I think Dak was great last year. I think Dak's a top 6 quarterback in the league. But left tackles, when your 2 left tackles are just average, maybe, no, that's definitely going to hurt this team.
Well, it's like I
The thing is,
mentioned earlier. It's like I mentioned earlier. Like, if for those of you who are in here, it doesn't matter how good Steele is individually, Guyton, Smith, BB, Martin. It doesn't matter how good they are individually. I mean, they could all be very, very good individual players, but they have to gel together. I called before the season to remind everybody of that. Like, these guys are a unit. It doesn't matter how good they are, how good they were last season or whatever, until they gel. And obviously, they're having growing pains, like I mentioned. And how long are we going to use that excuse? I don't know. I'm willing to say that it might take a whole season. It might take a whole season for this offensive line to gel, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, we were three. If I'm not mistaken, we were 3-2 last season around this time, just getting our freaking cheeks clapped, rotated, and shined up by the 49ers. And everybody was saying the same thing that you guys are saying right now. This offensive sucks. This offensive scheme sucks. CD's not getting open. Fire Mike McCarthy. Dak Prescott isn't the guy. I mean, it's very early. There's a lot of football to go. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, but the only difference is the defense was good last year. This defense sucks.
Well, the
They
difference,
they
yeah.
have
defense was good
nobody.
against the 49ers last year because I don't think they
Yeah,
were
they
very good
have
against 49ers
this
last year.
defense has nobody that could rush the passer. The Washington Cowboys have everybody now, and it's funny we didn't appreciate Fowler. We didn't appreciate the other guy we lost.
The down
I
roster
did.
guys,
Dorrance is
yeah.
my guy.
Lawrence.
And now all of a sudden you see, wow, we have nobody. If Micah doesn't put pressure, nobody does.
I think what's
DeMarcus
different
Lawrence,
about this team versus last year too, man, is that like we all knew defensive tackle and stopping the run was going to be an issue this year, and they did nothing to fix it. And now you've seen it crop its head up in 2 games back to back, where it's just an ungodly amount of rushing yards against you, which kind of confirms everybody's belief and suspicion kind of right off the bat. So that's why I think why everybody's feeling so down about this team, and that's why it feels
But you knew
different, I
that
think, from last year.
you knew that was an issue last year. You knew that
Not
was an issue
not
last
like
year when
this
you
though.
but you knew it was an issue last year when you couldn't stop the 49ers. You knew it was an issue last year when you couldn't stop Arizona, which was just a couple weeks after that, before free agency, if I'm not mistaken, and you didn't make any changes. You
Yeah,
knew it was an
but
issue
to be
against the Bills. You knew it was an issue, and it don't even matter about last year. You knew it was an issue in 2018 when you couldn't
Well, I
stop the
think
Rams. You knew
we had the
it's
number one
always been an
offense. Right?
issue.
but the
You know what I'm
lack
saying?
of
But we
motion.
didn't have the number one
You,
offense when we were 3 and
you've
2.
you
We
had
had
a
a
defense that
lackluster, a
was
bad offense.
Yeah,
you
but
had a
we had
de-
a
3 and 2.
you
we
had a
had a high
defense
scoring offense last year. This offense,
not
they
for the
they
first 6
can't score.
weeks.
No, we did not
They,
have a good offense last year until after the bye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
first
we
until
6
after.
started.
weeks.
But
And
Wait,
even
we beat
after
the
the
Giants 44-0 or something the first game of the
But
season.
it
those
was
right,
yeah,
those
40
but
games
nothing,
But
and there was multiple defensive touchdowns in that
yeah,
game,
no, no.
but
But what
and it
I'm
was
saying,
raining.
they
we
didn't
were
have any
feeling.
motion. They didn't have any motion until after the Niners game, and that's my issue is that after the Niners game they started using
Let me ask
motion,
you a
David.
question.
But
Do
then
you
now
feel
they're
as
back to
good
no motion.
about this defense this year as you did last year?
No, but that's not my point. My point is that you guys have the same passion and pessimism as y'all had last season after the
No, I have
49ers
more.
I
game.
think it's different.
No, you don't, because last season you were
No, I have
dogging Dak
more.
Prescott. Last season
I
you were
know, but
dogging
see,
back.
there's the difference. Last year, I
You
was
have the
worried
same
about
amount of
Dak.
pessimism, but for a different thing. That's it.
No, this year
You're
I
still
got a pessimism
pessimistic.
on the whole team. Dak is the least of my worries.
Yeah, I
I
think there's
never
a
go.
big
Exactly.
difference here.
I
I never
agree.
go into the game and saying, "Oh my God, Dak's going to kill us." No, I go into every game now saying, like Pittsburgh game. I just said it. Dak has to be the man. Dak has to go off. He's the only way we'll win this game.
He's got to be
I
the
don't
one with the cape
trust.
on.
I
He's
I
got to
know
be
Guyton
wearing the
is going to
cape.
get beat. Steele's is in trouble against Watt. The middle of that defensive line of Pittsburgh. So I look at this, and then our defense. I'm assuming they're going to try to run the ball on us. We're missing our 2 best defenders. Uh, we have to steal this game somehow, and I think we can. But no, I just don't have any confidence in the team, and mostly in the coaching staff. I there's nothing to hang your hat other than Aubrey
Last
on
year,
this.
the issue with the team when the losses was it was mostly a stagnant offense, and it's like this offense is punting the ball all the time. The defense is on the field all the time. If only the offense can move the ball, then maybe we'll be okay. The defense can get off the field and be okay. This year, it's like there's structural problems across both sides of the ball. The only unit you can count on right now at this point is special teams, and we have holes, serious holes at defensive tackle, serious holes at safety, which I think you can fix if you just reverse who's on the bench and who's starting. But until they do that, I won't have any confidence in that. They have obviously holes at running back. You have young linemen who will get better, but right now have been mediocre at best. So I think you're right. You're right, David. You're 100% right. There was a lot of concern last year. The sky was falling, which I think it was largely overblown because you don't know who this team really is until about November. But I do think that it's okay also to recognize like there are some serious holes on this team versus last year's team.
For sure.
The biggest.
And y'all know me, and y'all know me well enough. Like I'm Mr. Optimism, and I'm not delusional. Like I do know that there's a lot of issues,
Right.
but I also know that like there's a lot that we don't know. Like I don't know if the offensive line is going to develop. I don't know if they're going to be better by the end of this season. And if they are, I guarantee you guys, if they are, the run game's going to look a lot better. The offense is going to look a lot better. And then I don't know if Mazi's going to continue to build off this awesome game he just had. I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I'm not sure. But I mean, I've watched football long enough. I've played football long enough to just know like so much. Like there can be so much growth within one season.
Oh, we're not
And
throwing in the towel.
for
One of
sure,
the saving graces is the division isn't good. The Eagles don't look dominant. The Lions don't look dominant. No, there's no team, the 49ers, nobody's, you say to yourself, oh my God, I don't think we could beat them. No, I think the Cowboys could stay in it. But this stretch, this game Sunday is they have to win this game because the stretch coming up, I could see them losing all 3.
This is one of the easier games of their difficult games, if that
Yeah.
makes
But
sense.
but
no doubt.
here's my issue, David, is this is the part that is, I guess, if you want to have my pessimism, like specifically in one area, is we had, as Dylan was mentioning, we had stagnant offense and we weren't showing motion right until pretty much after CD complained after the Niners game. That's established. So how do we go a whole year with this worked, everyone saw it work, and now we've regressed to let's go back to a stagnant offense and no motion? That to me doesn't make, like, why are we? What's disappointing is you're seeing the same script play out, and I don't understand why that's the case.
No,
Why
you're
are we
right.
going back to no motion?
You're right. And the only thing that I could assume, because I don't know, obviously, none of us do. I'm not, in the meeting rooms, and I'm not in the position rooms. The only thing that I could assume is that, or I guess not even assume. The only thing that I could hope, the only thing that I could hope is that they are like, there's things that we can't do because this offensive line's not ready. And I'm not saying that's what it is. I have no idea, but I'm hoping that's what it is because that gives me the opportunity to be like, hey, maybe the offensive line will get a little bit better and the playbook will open up a little bit more. I
But
don't
here's the
know if
thing,
that's to
David.
be
He
true,
did
but I
that in the
hope.
Arizona game.
He
Listen,
did what?
He
I
remember
agree.
when Adoga and Bass started, he said Mike McCarthy said after the game, well, those guys actually played better than I thought. I shouldn't have been so conservative. So again, if that's the case, he's still then at this point, dude, you just gotta, like, if your tackles are your tackles, then it's like, F it, let's go. Let's just see what happens, because like playing the conservative and doing the no motion and not helping my guys get open and not scheming guys, we've already saw that last year not work. So
I
at
mean,
this point,
they don't run any RPOs at all. I think they've run one and it didn't work because I don't know what they did, but Dak doesn't even attempt to run an RPO. Like
He
I
should.
said, the offense is just so vanilla. It's like the defense says, "Okay, we know what you're going to do."
The run
That's
game
why,
is it's between the tackles and it's inside zone,
yeah,
like
they
almost
do not.
100% of the time,
Well, I
or it's an
think it's
end around.
maybe because that's where their strength is, and I get it. Their best players are in the middle. With
But you
Martin.
can get your inside guys on the outside. You can pull your center on a
I
toss,
agree.
right?
I
Like,
totally agree. And all we heard about was Steele is supposed to be a good run blocker. But I I don't know. This team just looks. It looks like they never recovered from getting their ass beat by Green Bay.
I don't think the fans ever recovered out of it because I think a lot of, and going back to David's point, I think a lot of the negativity this offseason that has now also leaked into the season, and then we got blown out and it got exemplified again, it all stems from that Green Bay loss. I think fans are sick and tired of just kind of seeing the same thing happen all the time where we get to the playoffs and get blown out. And this was a culmination of, like, this was the season that it should have clicked because we were in a good position. Everything went up for us and it didn't work out again, and it was a blowout. And I think that's leaked in out to it's poisoned our blood as a fan base, I think.
I think it
But we
poisoned
also
the front
saw it
office too.
after the end of last year. We saw teams say, "Let's run at that Micah Parsons. Let's run at them," and then Green Bay did it. And now
Quick
you're seeing
passes too.
teams. They're not going to let Micah tee off, and he's not very good against the run. He's too light, and they're just gonna pound them, and they'll say, "We don't think you're going to score 30 on us," and they're just going to pound on him. And like I said, he looks worn down already. He looks like it's week 14.
but Rob, that's why I'm saying we should do some 13 personnel and do the reverse. Why should we not beat down TJ Watt then?
Because we don't have that mentality. You just, to
But
me,
that's
like
but that's my point, though. I disagree with you because that's how you develop that mentality. But my problem is I don't think McCarthy is committed enough to do it. If you say,
no,
hey,
I,
we're gonna
I
put,
totally agree.
if you're gonna sit in
He's
too
not.
high, we're gonna big boy you until you bring that safety down, and then we're gonna
I know,
change
but
it.
they
But they
won't
won't do
do it
that. But I think they
because
should.
TJ
Because
Watt's
then you
also a
can.
lot better than Micah against the run too. I think he was ranked like 13th in
hear you,
PFF last
but
year.
I hear you, but still test him, run at him, wear him down.
Sure.
The more you can wear him down, the later
I
he's going to
agree,
be
though.
less
I
effective in the
agree.
fourth quarter.
But McCarthy's not going to stick with it. Number one. Number two,
He's never been a run guy.
we don't have the offensive line or the tight ends to block for it. We're a finesse team. We say what you
Right,
want.
I understand, but you have
We're
to. The only way you're going to develop it is by doing it.
not, like I said, not this year. You're not doing it this year. You need a whole regime change.
I don't know. I think you can still run it. You talk to any offensive lineman, what do they want to do?
Listen to me. You get
They
on the
want to
phone.
run.
With,
Any offensive
get
lineman will
on the
tell you they
phone
want to
with
run
my
block.
Python, Mike Solari.
I know. I know. I hear you. I hear you. I'm just saying.
Wait, here's the best. Somebody called in the other day and started talking about Mike. I was cracking up laughing. I'm like, shit, everybody's talking about
Speaking
this.
of that, bro, I gotta say this too. because I got to wrap this up soon. But today's show was the funniest fucking show of storyline that I think I've seen since it's been on air. There was like probably 4 times that I was belly laughing because it was so funny. And Rob, you were one of them or a couple of them. I don't remember all of them, man, but it was funny day today on that show.
Well, he was in a good mood today.
Yeah, he sounds better. I think he's been sick. He sounded a little nasally earlier in the week. I think he might have been sick.
He was in a good mood today. I think. Listen, I love when people like. Obviously, today everybody's talking about Devontae Adams and this, and he can't talk about it, and I get it. He works for the Dallas Cowboys, but it's fun when he sits there and he knows it's coming, and he
just shakes his head.
Yeah. Sometimes he gets mad.
I said the receiver, when I was calling. Everybody knows who it is. I was like, I don't want the receiver. I don't want to mention names and get anybody in trouble, But you can see it on his face, like, I can't talk about this, guys.
Who was it? Was it Anthony? Was it Anthony that sang to him today?
Yeah, and then Nick wanted me to sing. I'm like, bro, you gotta get me drunk if you want that. What are we talking about here?
Anthony, he sang his heart out, man. I was
that was good.
Yeah.
Anthony's hysterical.
I'm saying myself, I need to have what he had in the morning.
I love Michael from Colton, California. I feel like Anthony should be the opener every show just to get everybody's, especially after a loss. He shouldn't take any calls until it's Anthony. Just let Anthony open it up, get everybody in a good mood.
Rob, you said you want what he has in the morning. He's from Miami. He's from Miami, man. So
that's right.
Might be some powder. Honestly, just kidding.
Could be. He was really happy today. The woman that called before I called, she was good. I think she was first time caller.
You said I 100% agree with her. He's like, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah. Was she from Minnesota or something? Was she a first time caller?
I think so.
First time caller, Rebecca.
Yeah, I had to listen to the replays all week because of my work schedule. But I was like, whenever Dylan posted that, it was like a funny show. I was like, you know what? I usually listen before I go to sleep, but I'll listen right now. And I was cracking up too, man. That was funny. And then it was like a pretty good lineup that called in today too. I was like, damn, these are one of those weeks where this is one of those days where I really wanted to get in because I'm like, man, if I miss a week, he might take my ass off the all storyline team, man. So I'm like, I got to try to get in.
Thursdays seem like one of the easier days to get.
I like Thursdays.
Fridays are hard because everybody wants to give their prediction.
He keeps track of them all too, man. He's got them all written down.
I've been trying to call a little bit less to let some other people get in too.
Yeah, I don't call every day. I try to call every other day. It's hard to. It's hard to talk about stuff, that we all talked about. Like, yeah, it was a little different today because Devontae Adams and shit like that. But
when the team's winning too, I think it's different. Like when they're blowing teams out, like you can find fun stuff to talk about. Like nobody wants to call and be a drag all the time,
No, because we all agree. We all see what's wrong, and we just can't fix it. You can't fix. Unfortunately, you can't fix what's wrong with them. It's not a single player. It's not like when you remember when they went and got Amari Cooper and it was like boom, the offense took off. It's not like that. You can't fix.
Yeah, but even that, Rob. To be fair, and Nick pushed back on me when I called him about that when he was like, they've made moves like that. They made that move out of desperation.
Yeah.
That wasn't a move that they made where we were talking about, like, tell me the last time they made a move where it was a surplus move.
The problem is the move that they need to make, and there's nobody giving them up. That's why I joked when somebody said Devontae Adams. Just said, talk to me when the Raiders are putting up Max Crosby.
Yeah, I just want a PSA for all Cowboys fans. Every time I see something on Twitter that says like, "Hey, what about this guy?" I'm like, you guys can tweet out every single player in the league of what about we trade for this guy, trade for that guy. I don't think any help's coming. I think you got what you got. I think you might.
You're
get
too far away too from trading. Like you're
we need. Nobody gives up. We need defensive tackles and offensive tackle. They don't give them.
They're not taking big swings.
Hey guys, I'm gonna say this, and I gotta wrap this up after this. I just want to say, do y'all remember last year we didn't have that 4th round draft pick, and we needed a running back really bad, right? And we didn't have that pick when all the running backs were going in the 4th round. Well, that's gonna be if we give up picks for players who aren't gonna put us over the top. That's going to be like multiple times this draft. Like we need a defensive tackle. We need a running back. We probably need a receiver. Like we have some really big needs that I'm not giving up capital for, man, unless like you can get a really good deal. Like, I would trade for Amari Cooper, but it's got to be probably a 3rd or a 4th round pick because he's so cheap this year. And then you got to, obviously pay him or whatever.
But they won't.
And I know they won't, and that's fine. But there's not a lot of people that I would trade for. ETN from the Jaguars is up. I'm not trading for him because I don't want to pay him.
I'm not.
I'll draft
I'm not,
one.
Honestly, I guess that's kind of what I'm saying is I'm not trading for anybody. Like
That's why
again,
we should all be
if you didn't
rooting
trade
for
last year and get a linebacker when you had a safety playing linebacker and everyone was running down your throats and we were getting our cheeks clapped, as David said, and you didn't get a running back, then you're definitely not doing it this year. You got your team is your team this year. It is whatever the record's going to be is what it's going to be. Hopefully, it's better than not, but I don't think any significant help is coming. So I think it's.
Yep.
That's why
that's what it is.
Sunday night is big for Flournoy. If Flournoy could play really good, and now you say to yourself, "Hey,
what are you going to say, Rob, when he's active but he gets 0 targets?"
Well, then I'm going to be like, well, like I said, you're not, either Dak doesn't trust him or they're not doing nothing to scheme him open. But my thing is, if he could come in and be like a Miles Austin where he just comes out of nowhere and starts making plays, then you say to yourself, because Brandon Cooks ain't back next year, you say to yourself, wow, we got, okay. And then maybe he builds on it. Now you got this young kid. Now you say to yourself, okay, there's your number 2.
Yeah, maybe I don't need a receiver that bad in this draft. Maybe take one later.
I think
we should all be rooting for this kid to do something. And a perfect game would be he actually makes plays and they win the game. Maybe to get Turpin involved, and we'll see what happens. But that's what they need because Brandon Cooks, he's done.
If he could get 4 grabs for like 70 yards and a touchdown, that would be amazing. That would be huge.
That'd be awesome. Awesome.
I think to David's point though, the Flournoy stuff is the backup quarterback, or sorry, not the backup quarterback. It's the backup running back where it's just like, yeah, we know our starter, but we want to see the backup guy. Throw him in there. But I honestly can just as easily see a scenario where he's active and he gets 0 targets because if you're gonna, like I said, if you're gonna have Turpin score touchdowns and the very next week have 0 targets, there's no I mean, I will not be a 1 bit shocked if he's active, only plays special teams and gets 0 targets.
Well, I hope not, because the better he does, then the better CD.
What's the evidence shown you so far?
Nothing. Listen, the odds are against it, but as a fan, I'm just saying to myself, if this kid could show something, it's going to take pressure off his CD Lamb.
He's got good traits, and he showed some stuff in the preseason, and that's why everybody's excited for him. But hey, guys, I do have to end this. I got to jump off. I don't have time to take all everybody's predictions. I usually do it. I write them down and look at them afterwards. But just throw them in the chat on this and Twitter on this thread that we got going on for this thing, and let us know.
Everybody have a good night, and I'll listen to you guys tomorrow.
Wait,
all right, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Dylan, what
Have a
you
good
want me
one.
to take a picture of myself?
Take care.
Or what'd you say?
Wait, yeah, take a picture, preferably without clothes. No, go into the community post.
Whoa.
Go in the community and go to
no.
go to the thread. Go to the thread that this chat is on, like in the I don't know how you call this stuff, right? But then the pin tweet in the community, and the space is listed there. Just put your predictions under that for this week.
I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna take a picture, Paula. I'm gonna take a picture, Paula. It's gonna say Solari sucks on my shirt.
All right, hey.
All right, y'all.
Thanks for putting this on, man.
For sure,
knew that
man.
would get her.
For sure.
All right, man. Peace out,
All right,
guys.
we'll see y'all.